Why is drinking a vanilla shake at night good for your body? Doesn't the book say it's best not to eat anything after 8? Grace Miller asked, looking puzzled. Because after exercising, people need to replenish their protein. It's perfect for the night workout crowd, like night joggers and such. Ethan Ford explained with a mischievous grin. Grace had a look of realization. Oh, so that's how it is. You really do learn something new every day. But I'm not going to be exercising tonight. Oof. Ethan squeezed her hand and said solemnly, You will. It's vital for our future happiness. Huh? What? Grace looked at him with innocent, confused eyes. You'll understand later. Let's go get some food first. I'm starving. Ethan quickly changed the subject. If she figured out the innuendo, the soft flesh around his waist would surely suffer for it. Hand in hand, intimate and inseparable, they headed towards the food strip. The food strip was bustling with a late-night crowd. It was never wasted space. By day, it was a morning market. By night, a food haven. One storefront earning 2 rents. The landlord must be making a killing. Ethan bought her some large, golden fried dough sticks and a rich vanilla shake. She munched on the pastry while they continued to stroll. So good. Grace ate with her cheeks puffed out like a chipmunk, mumbling incoherently. Gracie, take smaller bites. No one's fighting you for it. I'm afraid you'll choke, Ethan said, shaking his head with a smile. Don't worry, I won't choke. I have my shake to wash it down. Grace boasted excitedly. After swallowing one bite, she picked up the fried dough to stuff it into her mouth again. Other girls ate these things delicately, nibbling bit by bit, but she just opened her mouth wide and shoved it in. Ethan watched, dumbfounded, as she stuffed the large pastry into her mouth. That mouth, it opened really wide. He couldn't help but swallow hard. Man, my future happiness is definitely secured. Grace took a big bite. For some reason, Ethan felt a sudden, phantom chill in his extremities. Why did he have the illusion of empathy pain? Incomprehensible. Truly incomprehensible. Hey, Stinky Ethan, look. There's a chicken over there. Its feathers are so cute. Grace suddenly shouted in surprise. Next to a stall selling chicken noodle soup, there was a cage containing 4 chickens. One of them had mostly white feathers dotted with black and brown, giving it a somewhat artistic look. Delighted by the find, Grace ran over and squatted in front of the cage to admire it carefully. The 4 chickens were startled by her approach and shrank back. Don't be scared. Good little birdies. Come here and let me pet your heads. Grace cooed at the white-feathered chicken as if teasing a child. Ethan squatted beside her and nodded in agreement. This chicken does look quite unique, right? I told you it was cute. Look at its feathers. So beautiful. So pretty. Grace couldn't stop praising it. Gracie, we generally have an idiom to describe a chicken that is very beautiful. Do you know what it is? Ethan asked with a straight face. Huh? What idiom? Grace was stunned. It's one hot chick. What? One hot chick? That's an idiom? How come I've never heard of it? Stinky Ethan, are you making that up? Haha. A new century calls for new idioms. Get with the times. I guess so. That phrase does fit the scene. One hot chick. Cluck, 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 cluck. HM, why are you humming a song? Are you that excited? Cough. Seeing this chicken just makes me unable to resist. I'm in a good mood. Grace laughed too. Hey, what a coincidence, me too. Ethan saw her eyes full of affection for the bird and was slightly moved. Girls. They just have no defense against cute little animals. But it didn't matter. They could buy it, and she could keep it as a pet if she liked it that much. Gracie, since this chicken is so cute, how about we? Before he could finish, Grace cut him off. How about we eat it? Make it into chicken soup. Since it looks so cute, its meat must be delicious. As she spoke, Grace actually licked her lips. Etang, ue, kaomoji, winku. Okay, Grace Miller is definitely not your average girl. Boss, kill this chicken for me. I want chicken noodle soup. Grace stood up and shouted. Half an hour later, Ethan and Grace were sitting in the shop, eating chicken noodle soup. Grace, I have to say, the chicken you chose is a good chicken. It really is delicious. Of course, Grace smiled smugly. Suddenly, she saw that there was still a drumstick in Ethan's bowl, and she immediately started salivating. Stinky Ethan. She tugged at Ethan's sleeve and whined coquettishly. Oh, what? Give it to me. Can I eat your cock? Uffed. Ethan sprayed out all the noodles he had just eaten, scattering them all over the table. Grace stared wide-eyed and asked in astonishment. Stinky Ethan, really? I just wanted a piece of your chicken. Was that reaction necessary? Cough, cough. Gracie, say rooster or bird, but don't say cock. Keep it PG, okay? Ethan quickly wiped his mouth and then cleaned the table. Grace scratched her head, asking in confusion, why? A rooster is a cock. What's not PG about that? Honestly, just remember it, okay? Here, I'll give you the chicken. I'm full anyway, I can't eat that much. Ethan moved the drumstick in her bowl. Haha. Thanks, Stinky Ethan. Grace happily planted a wet kiss on his cheek. Ethan grinned. If I give you 2 more pieces, will you give me 2 more kisses? Grace's cheeks flushed. She spat lightly and said, in your dreams. No way. Stinky Ethan's skin is getting thicker and thicker. Have you no shame? True, his face is probably thick enough to stop a missile. Stinky Ethan, I'm a little thirsty. Wait here for me, I'll go buy 2 drinks. Do you want root beer or Gatorade? She asked, standing up. Oh my, Gracie being so proactive. I'll take a Gatorade then. Ethan laughed. If I have my own allowance too, you know? I'm going to buy them. You wait here. Grace said, skipping out of the shop. Ethan looked around the old shop. This kind of vintage arcade-style place had a certain charm. The old pendulum clock on the wall had stopped moving and was draped in cobwebs, taped up with clear tape. There were tattered landscape paintings, greasy tables and chairs, and checkered floor tiles. Oh, and the middle-aged owner wearing flip-flops, making a clack-clack sound as he walked. The whole environment radiated an old-school vibe that felt incredibly familiar and nostalgic. Suddenly, Ethan noticed an empty corner table where a silver Walkman seemed to have been left on a chair. HM, who ate noodles and left their Walkman behind? Ethan got up, walked over, picked up the Walkman and opened it. There was a Britney Spears tape inside. He looked around. There were only 3 tables of customers left. At this moment, the middle-aged owner happened to pass by. Ethan asked, Boss, it looks like someone left their Walkman here. You should keep it safe in case they come back looking for it. The owner, carrying a large pot of chicken soup with both hands, didn't look back. Sure, you just put it there for now. I don't have a free hand. Ethan shook his head with a smile and walked to the counter to put it away. Excuse me, hey student, hello? That looks like my Walkman. Suddenly, a crisp, bright female voice sounded from behind him. Ethan froze. That voice was just too familiar. It struck his mind like a bolt of lightning, numbing his entire body. He turned around in disbelief and saw the girl behind him. She was wearing a floral dress, with shoulder-length hair and a butterfly headband. She had an oval face and willow leaf eyebrows, possessing a gentle, graceful temperament reminiscent of a southern belle. Seeing her felt like a spring breeze brushing against one's face. The moment he saw the girl in front of him, his mind exploded, leaving him completely dazed, staring at her blankly. The girl seemed to flush under his intense gaze. She looked away, not daring to make eye contact, but she still pouted slightly and said, student, that's my Walkman. Can you get it back to me? Ethan took a deep breath, suppressing the turbulent waves in his heart, and handed the Walkman to her. Here, your Walkman. The girl took the Walkman with great joy, then looked at Ethan with gratitude. Thank you so much. This Walkman is very important to me. It was a birthday gift from my dad. I would have been so sad if I lost it. Thank you so much. I'll treat you to a meal someday. The girl extended her hand and smiled brightly. Hello, my name is Lucy Yates. Nice to meet you. Lucy Yates. Those 2 words swirled in his mind, the voice repeating endlessly. Hello, my name is Lucy Yates. Lucy Yates, his former wife. Her appearance instantly triggered countless memories. Ethan stared blankly at her flawless white hand, then at her. He subconsciously wanted to reach out, but just as he lifted his hand, he let it drop. His heart could no longer remain calm. Facing this woman whom he had loved deeply for 7 years, the woman who had betrayed him at the very end of his life, his emotions were extremely complex and entangled. To say he could treat it as nothing was impossible. That 7-year sweet marriage held many beautiful memories, etched into his bones. The vows they once made seemed to still echo in his ears. Every embrace felt like possessing the whole world. Every passionate kiss was so intense. Every gaze revealed a deep, ingrained love. Someone once said, as deep as your love was, so too will be your hate after betrayal. When Ethan saw her true colors, those cold eyes, that condescending attitude, his heart felt not only hate but pain, as if a sharp blade were twisting madly in his chest. 7 years of beauty seemed to turn into a lovely bubble, popping one by one under her icy gaze. He really wanted to know, why did she change? When did she change? Countless thoughts flashed through Ethan's mind, various emotions surging up. Why did you change? He stared at her and murmured, his voice low and hoarse. Excuse me? What did you say? What changed? Do you know me? Lucy tilted her head, her face full of confusion. She felt that the boy in front of her, his mood and state seemed very wrong. He seemed incredibly sad. sad enough to make one's heart ache. She suddenly had an urge to lend him a shoulder to lean on. But reason told her she couldn't do that. She was just puzzled as to why this male student became like this upon seeing her. Are you okay? Lucy asked with concern. Ethan snapped out of it and immediately turned cold. I'm fine. You should go. It's time to let go. Completely let go. Loved once, hated once, but now, to each other, we're just strangers. And will only ever be strangers. Lucy looked confused, but she still waved at him. Okay then. Bye. With that, Lucy turned and left, her floral dress blending into the crowd on the street. Just then, Grace passed her with 2 bottles of drinks in hand. Grace skipped over to Ethan and said sweetly, Here, stinky Ethan, your Gatorade. I asked for room temperature. I don't want you drinking cold stuff so early in the morning. Ethan forced a smile. Not bad. Room temp is fine. By the way, who was that just now? A classmate. Grace turned to look toward the street. On her way back, she had seen Ethan seemingly talking to a girl. Ethan shrugged and smiled faintly. Don't know her. Just a stranger. Oh, I thought she was your classmate. By the way, stinky Ethan, doesn't freshman boot camp start tomorrow, Friday? Grace sat back down and asked with a smile. Yeah, training in this Indian summer heat. We're probably going to shed a layer of skin. Ethan chuckled. I'm not worried for myself, but you might get a few shades darker. Grace shot him a glance. What? If I get tan, do you have a problem with it? Besides, I'm going to cover my whole body in sunscreen every day. Ethan teased. With the sun this strong, it probably won't help much. You're bound to get a little tan. Huh? No, I don't want to get tan. We're going to buy sunscreen right after we eat. Grace puffed up her cheeks. Ethan secretly laughed, thinking she looked adorable like that. They finished breakfast and then ran off to buy sunscreen, buying 4 large bottles, 2 for each of them. Ethan twitched his lips. He hadn't used this much sunscreen in his entire previous life. They wandered around the streets for a while longer, and Ethan didn't return to the dorm until nearly noon. As soon as he entered, he saw Jason York and Kevin Kegg O'Connor battling it out in red alert. Ford, where were you all morning? Doing some exercise, Jason asked with a suggestive wink. What exercise? Do I look like that kind of person? Ethan retorted with a righteous face. Jason and Kegg nodded simultaneously, speaking in unison. You don't just look like it. You are. Ethan, he. Damn, what's wrong with your eyes? I'm super wholesome, okay? Ethan teased, then returned to his desk. He looked back and saw Sam Tucker buried in a newspaper. Sam, since when do you like reading the paper? Sam scratched his head and replied, I'm looking to see if there are any suitable part-time jobs. I want to use my spare time to work, but the ads in the paper are all full-time. No one seems to be looking for part-timers. As he spoke, his eyes looked a bit dejected. Ethan knew his family background was poor and life was tight. His college tuition had been scraped together by the folks in his village. He didn't expect Sam to want to work part-time while studying. That awareness, that willpower, wasn't something everyone possessed. Ethan felt a pang of compassion, but helping people required tact. One had to consider the other person's dignity. Sam, if you're looking for a part-time job, why not come work for my company? We're desperately in need of marketing and promotion. Could you help me promote some software online? Ethan smiled and asked, Ethan, can I? Sam looked hesitant and unsure of himself. Ethan got up, walked over, patted him on the shoulder, and encouraged, as long as you want to do it, you definitely can. I believe that anyone willing to take action can succeed, and that includes you. Hearing these words, Sam's eyes filled with emotion. He felt incredibly encouraged. Thanks, Ethan. I understand. I'll work hard. Although, I don't know what marketing promotion is yet, but I'll learn properly. Sam said excitedly. Ethan nodded with satisfaction and laughed. Haha, that's the spirit. You should show courage and confidence. As long as you're alive and brave enough, no difficulty can stop you. For part-time, let's start you at $500 a month. I'll give you a raise once you show results. How does that sound? Sam turned pale with shock. What? $500? That much? $500 was more than his monthly food budget. He hadn't expected Ethan to be so generous and felt immensely grateful. Do a good job. This money is nothing. There will be plenty of opportunities to make big money later. Ethan habitually painted a rosy picture. It seemed every boss liked to paint big pictures, and it always worked. But Ethan did it less. He was a man of action. $500 was about a standard college student's living expenses. In the cafeteria, a veggie dish was 50 cents, a small meat dish was $1, a big meat dish was $2. 50. If you scrimped, you could eat for $3 a meal. Breakfast bagels or toast, lunch and dinner proper meals. spending about $7 or $8 a day meant around $250 a month. Most ordinary students ate like that. Someone like Ethan, who ate out constantly, was the exception. After all, people without money were the majority. The rich were always the minority. Okay, thank you, Ethan. Sam excitedly shook Ethan's hand. Ethan smiled. All right, I'll set you up with a computer later and give you a work file. Just follow the file to learn, and you'll pick it up quickly. When the software officially launches, you'll be a big help. Yes, I'll study it well, Sam said solemnly. Just then, Ethan's cell phone rang. Hold on, I gotta take this. Ethan went to the hallway and saw it was Frank Zane calling. Hey, Frank, any good news? Haha, Ethan, my friend, you really are brilliant. Indeed, there's good news. Sterling Tech has already started seeking negotiations with Horizon Systems. They'd rather pay a sum to terminate the contract, but they're dreaming. Just money? Wouldn't that waste our plan? Frank's laughter came through the phone. Ethan narrowed his eyes calmly. Looks like they're really desperate. Frank, you have the legal letter ready, right? Ready and waiting. It'll be delivered to Mr. Pearson's hands at 6 p.m. sharp. I called to ask if you wanted to come over this afternoon to witness it. Frank laughed. No need, Frank. I have class this afternoon. I'm very comfortable leaving the rest to you. Ethan politely declined. If he went, there would inevitably be a drinking session, and Frank would definitely use the opportunity to keep talking about investing in Westford Electronics. So Ethan turned it down directly, giving him no chance. All right then, when you're free, you must come over for a few drinks. I haven't drank with you in a while. Frank said, no problem. Let's schedule something when we're free. After chatting for a bit, they hung up. On the other side, in the chairman's office of Southbridge Traders, Frank Zane sat in his executive chair with a dark face, toying with his phone. Lana, do you think Ethan doesn't want to let us invest in his company? Frank turned to look at Lana Cole, standing nearby. Lana hesitated for a moment before replying. Maybe he hasn't thought it through himself. Logically speaking, it's a win-win. We provide the capital, he grabs the market. But if he values equity heavily, he might not be willing. I think this matter can't be rushed. Frank nodded. You have a point. Or maybe he's just guarded against us. The relationship might not be at that level yet. Lana, send him some gifts later on my behalf. Contact him more often, communicate more, build mutual trust. Lana smiled slightly and nodded. Yes, I understand. Frank looked at his watch and smiled. Go arrange it. Send the letter to Sterling Tech on time this afternoon. And tomorrow, Friday, notify Leo Tate to immediately go to court to file the case, suing Sterling for breach of contract. Civil lawsuit. Lana nodded. Yes, I'll arrange it right away. At 6 p.m., the atmosphere inside Sterling Tech was heavy. Worry was written on everyone's face. Eugene Grant and Mr. Pearson sat in their chairs with dark faces, silent. After 3 days of effort, they still hadn't solved the problem with the last component. Horizon Systems had refused any negotiation and issued a final notice. If the project couldn't be completed, they would sue Sterling Tech for breach of contract. They would have to pay liquidated damages equal to 5 times the project funds. That was over $2 million. Sterling Tech couldn't afford to pay that at all. After the news spread within the company, panic set in. You guys go back to work. Eugene and I will handle the Horizon project. Pearson finally spoke to break the silence. The other employees remained silent, but they already knew the situation was critical. At that moment, a group of lawyers in black suits and glasses walked into Sterling Tech. Mr. Pearson of Sterling Tech, correct? We are from Justice and Partners. I am Mr. Pence. I am now officially representing Horizon Systems to deliver a legal letter to you. Sterling Tech must bear full responsibility for the project default and compensate Horizon Systems for all losses. Prepare your defense. Mr. Pence handed the legal letter to Pearson, then turned and left. Pearson looked at the legal letter and collapsed into his chair, his face turning as white as a sheet. It's over. It's all over. Sterling is finished. He never thought that after a lifetime of cleverness, he would fall here today. Breach of contract, black and white legal documents. This lawsuit was unwinnable. Pearson buried his face in his hands, tears finally slipping from his eyes. All the employees watched him. No one spoke. The office was quiet, so quiet that only the sound of his sobbing could be heard. Nighttime, girls' dorm, room 306. Grace Miller lay on her stomach on the bed wearing a cute pink nightgown, her pale calves swinging up and down. She was humming a little tune, in a very good mood. Chloe Jones came out of the bathroom and asked with a smile, Gracie, why are you so happy today? Did you find money on the street? Is there? Am I very happy? No way. Grace blushed and denied it 3 times. Chloe walked her bed. leaned against the frame, looked her up and down, and teased, "You say no, but your tail is wagging up to the sky. Is it because you went out with Ethan today? Happy now?" Grace sat up abruptly. She wanted to argue, but in front of Chloe, any excuse was pale. So she blushed and said, "Yeah, of course I'm happy." "Ew, feels like I just got force-fed a bunch of PDA." Chloe teased. At this moment, Dana asked curiously, "Gracie, I heard from Chloe that you and Ethan are childhood sweethearts, grew up together from elementary school to college. Don't you guys feel too familiar?" "I haven't even spent that much time with my brother." Grace pondered for a moment and replied, "True. Sometimes it feels too familiar. I'm embarrassed to even take off his clothes." "Chloe, Sigma, handaktin no, no." Dana, Sigma, Sue gasped. "Oh my God, Gracie, have you guys progressed to that stage already? That was fast." Grace realized the implication of their words. Her cheeks burned, and she rolled her eyes at the three of them. "What are you guys thinking? Can't you have anything wholesome in your brains? I meant last time he was drunk and vomited on his clothes. It was when I was taking his clothes off to clean him." "Oh, so that's how it is." The three of them had looks of realization, but their expressions were very fake, their eyes full of total disbelief. "Hey, Gracie, we're all college students, adults. We understand. Adults should do adult things." Sue covered her mouth and laughed. "Do what things? What are you thinking about?" "Honestly, doing the deed, of course." The three said in unison. "Gracie. Que. No way. Huh. All right, enough teasing. But Gracie, what strong points does your boyfriend have that make you like him so much?" Dana asked curiously. She hadn't seen what Ethan looked like yet. Grace rubbed her chin with one hand. "Too many strong points. He's pretty long." "Huh." The three were simultaneously dumbfounded. No, I mean tall. Taller than the average guy, handsome, and has a bit of money. But whether it's his strengths or weaknesses, I like them all," Grace explained. "So he's tall, rich, and handsome?" Dana exclaimed. Her mind immediately conjured up an image of a wealthy playboy wearing Armani, shiny Oxfords, a cigar in his mouth, and a gold watch on his wrist, oozing the scent of money. Grace like that type? Kind of, but not exactly. Grace giggled. Chloe covered her mouth and laughed. "What tall, rich, and handsome?" "Ethan was a huge goofball in high school, but he's a really good person." "Gracie, aren't you worried someone will steal him?" "I'm not worried," Grace said confidently. Chloe teased. "Gracie, with your temper, only Ethan can handle you. Anyone else would have run away long ago. I advise you, as a woman, you have to be gentle like water. Men like that kind of personality." Grace paused. "Gentle? What counts as gentle?" "Chloe. Cough. Let's use another word. Ladylike. Be a lady, get it? Speak softly, move elegantly, and be like a little bird relying on a person when you're with a man. Try it if you don't believe me. I bet Ethan would definitely like you being a bit gentler." Chloe spoke with certainty. "Really?" Grace asked suspiciously. "Really? Trust me. I'm a woman who has watched 18 seasons of daytime soaps." Chloe said like an old expert. "Then I'll try it tomorrow." Grace hesitated. "Of course. You have to show a more feminine side to Ethan. Make him unable to resist you." Chloe nodded seriously. "Don't worry. I'll be your guide." "No problem." "Huh? Guide? What guide?" Grace asked in astonishment. Chloe flipped her hair confidently. "Guide for operation. Classy lady, of course." "Then I want to be the vice guide." Dana shouted excitedly, raising her hand. "Then she's first mate. I'll be second mate. Or junior guide." "Don't worry, I'll guide hard," Sue said solemnly. Grace slapped her forehead. Why is there inexplicably another plan? Chloe really is a plan addict, always coming up with schemes. But what they said didn't seem unreasonable. In TV shows, isn't the gentle heroine always the most popular? Chloe gripped the bed railing with both hands and declared solemnly, "Gracie, operation. Classy lady begins now." The next day, Illinois Tech finally welcomed the first day of freshman boot camp. Sure enough, every time there was outdoor training, the sun was blazing. Every time there was a break, it would pour rain. Greeting the morning sun, more than 2,000 freshmen gathered on the football field. Everyone had changed into army green camo fatigues, standing in phalanxes. The scene was spectacular. In computer science class 1, Ethan yawned. Last night, he was busy with the final assault on the 361 software server and stayed up until 1 a.m. He was woken up by the emergency assembly whistle at 6 a.m. "Ford, look at your dark circles. Watch your health." "It's fine. I'm used to it," Ethan laughed. "How can you get used to that? You'll get kidney deficiency. As the saying goes, a little wanking is pleasant. A lot hurts the body, and forced wanking leads to oblivion. Keg said seriously. Ethan, damn it, Keg, you're the one wanking into oblivion. Jason Yerk leaned in, his face full of anticipation. Did you hear? Someone posted on the forum. The new campus queen is actually from the School of Architecture, and she's an architecture major. Oh my god, the School of Architecture has way more guys than girls. The new campus queen is so pretty, it's basically a sheep entering a wolf pack, surrounded by wolves. Ethan twitched his mouth, thinking to himself, who is the sheep and who is the wolf is really up for debate. Ford, didn't you want to chase the new campus queen? I think it's going to be tough. Jason sighed. Hey, York, stop talking. The faculty advisor is coming. Keg shouted quickly. Class 1's faculty advisor was the associate professor of computer science, Mr. Stone. The advisor was usually unsmiling and stern. His gaze was particularly intimidating, and he always had a dark expression. People nicknamed him the Dark Lord, but most students just called him the boss. As soon as he appeared, the class fell silent immediately. Freshman boot camp inevitably involved speeches from school leaders, long and boring. After gushing for over an hour, the drill sergeants blew their whistles in unison, officially kicking off the training. The first training exercise was a 3-mile run. The whole class had to run together, no running fast, no leaving anyone behind. It was all about collective consciousness. 3 miles wasn't long, but after running, many people were already paralyzed on the ground. Then came a half-hour break. On the other side, in Architecture Class 1, Grace and Chloe had just finished running. The latter was panting heavily from exhaustion, while Grace looked relaxed and happy, face not red, breath not short. Is it really that tiring? Grace asked with a smile. You think everyone is like you? Chloe rolled her eyes at her. Suddenly, 7 or 8 boys ran over. Grace, are you thirsty? Have some water. Drink mine, drink mine. Mine is Gatorade. Replenishes electrolytes. Drink mine. Mine is Mountain Dew. For a moment, a group of men were chirping around her. Just then, Zach Shore coughed nearby. What are you all doing? Scatter, scatter. Zach Shore was a senior sent by the student union to supervise order. Freshmen had some awe for seniors and backed away one after another. Zach walked up to Grace with his hands behind his back, smiling ingratiatingly. Grace, how about you drink my Gatorade? It's the new flavor. He pulled the Gatorade from behind his back. Surprise. Freshman. Everyone simultaneously thought of one word. Shameless. Grace. No need, senior. Thanks. Hey, you ran for so long, you must be thirsty. Come on, take it. Zach reached out to grab Grace's hand. Chloe's eyes went wide. Oh no, don't reach out. The next moment, Grace grabbed his arm, followed by an over-the-shoulder throw. Bang! Zach was slammed heavily onto the ground. The scene instantly went silent. The freshmen were dumbfounded, frozen on the spot. Holy crap, the goddess is so skilled. A crowd of freshmen nearby were still in a daze. They watched with their own eyes as the senior was taken down in one move. That explosive power, that seamless motion, it was simply astonishing. Sure enough, beautiful flowers have thorns. The ancients did not deceive me. Under everyone's stunned gaze, Grace snorted coldly. Touch me again, and I'll break your arms and legs. Zach Shore. In an instant, he felt a chill down his spine, his hair standing on end. This junior was terrifying. Enduring the severe pain in his back, he quickly scrambled up from the ground and ran away with his tail between his legs. Grace clapped her hands with satisfaction, smiling proudly. That was the deterrent effect she wanted. Chloe slapped her forehead, thinking to herself, indeed, high school history repeats itself. Grace disliked the opposite sex touching her the most, especially her hands. Back in high school, several people didn't believe in the curse, and after being educated by Grace once, the whole school's suitors didn't dare cross the line. Of course, except for Ethan, which was also why Ethan was frequently hated by others. Chloe walked up to her and whispered, Gracie, you were too ruthless. I heard that guy named Shore has deep connections in the student union. Aren't you afraid of them making things difficult for you? Afraid? Chloe, what do you think? Grace glanced at her. Okay, I worried too much. Chloe twitched her lips. With Grace's temper, if anyone dared to provoke her, they had to be prepared to be crushed. Physically. But Gracie, you have to pay attention to your image. Don't forget our plan. If Ethan really sees this side of you, won't our plan go down the drain? Chloe advised in a low voice. Oh, all right, I'll definitely pay attention next time. Grace adjusted her camo hat and said solemnly, by the way, what was the content of our plan? Chloe pondered for a long time before replying. I haven't thought of it yet. Grace, understood. Hey, I got it. Why don't you go buy a drink and give it to Ethan? It's so hot. If you give him a drink, he'll definitely like it. See, my idea is pretty good, right? Chloe laughed smugly. Grace looked unamused. Isn't this obviously those guys' idea? Is it? Yeah, whatever, as long as it works. Chloe said loudly. After a half-hour break, the classes began separate formation drills. Attention, at ease, turning, marching, aiming for collective coordination. Grace's class finished training and dismissed relatively quickly. The four roommates quickly ran to buy drinks. Grace bought a Gatorade and also bought 2 Rocket Pops, knowing Ethan loved Rocket Pops and would definitely be happy. The four bought their stuff and returned to the football field. There were still 4 classes that hadn't dismissed and were still doing drills, including Ethan's computer science class 1. The 4 girls sat on the steps in front of the class formation, waiting. As soon as Grace appeared on the scene, she caused a commotion among the 4 classes. The sunlight reflected on her beautiful face, her skin white as jade, seemingly glowing. Paired with the camo uniform, she looked heroic and charming. The freshmen of the 4 classes were stunned at first sight. Holy crap, that girl is gorgeous. I know. That's our new campus queen. Oh my gosh, she's so pretty. She looks exactly like the perfect goddess in my dreams. Move over. That's my goddess. What did you say? Bro, draw your sword. Quit arguing. Don't disturb me looking at the beauty. The freshmen buzzed with discussion, but were soon scolded by their respective drill sergeants, who pulled a dozen people out to do push-ups. Meanwhile, Ethan was practicing his standing posture under the fierce sun. Forward, look. The goddess you want to chase is here. Jason whispered from the side. Ethan tilted his head slightly and actually saw Grace. The 3 girls around her must be her roommates. He saw Grace tear open the wrapper and start eating a Rocket Pop. He couldn't help but swallow. Damn, is Grace deliberately showing off in front of me? Murdering the heart. Absolutely murdering the heart. Hee. Ford, the new campus queen really is pretty. Much prettier in person than in photos. You go ahead and chase her, I support you. Although the probability of you catching her isn't high, only 0.1%, but it doesn't matter. I'll be your strategist, raising the success rate by at least 10 percentage points. Jason laughed smugly. Ethan, forget it, go be a strategist for Keg. At this moment, Ethan's gaze happened to meet Grace's. The 2 smiled at each other. Grace even stuck out her pink little tongue and licked the Rocket Pop. It seemed she was deliberately teasing Ethan. However, because of her inadvertent action, many people were left dumbfounded. Oh my god, I envy that Rocket Pop so much. A freshman with center-parted bangs laughed foolishly. You're disgusting. The classmate next to him gave him a scornful look, then said, I'd rather be the stick in her hand. Isn't that the same perversion? As they were talking, they suddenly saw Grace flash a sweet smile towards the formation. She had cute dimples on her cheeks, her eyes curving into moving crescents. In an instant, the freshmen of the 4 classes became even more agitated. Look, she seems to be smiling at me. Get lost. She's clearly smiling at me. Stop fighting, I confess, it's actually me. From murmurs to a noise level like a vegetable market, even the instructors couldn't suppress it. Someone in CS Class 1 even whistled, restless. Jason flipped his bangs and said confidently, Hey, the new campus queen seems to be smiling at me. Sigh, there's no helping being handsome. My damn charm that has nowhere to rest. And this innate temperament. Seeing Jason being so narcissistic, Keg gave him a very scornful look. York, you have no shame, do you? How can you be so vain? She's clearly looking at me. Okay. Keg laughed foolishly. Nah, you damn fatty. You're even more shameless than me. Jason sneered. Ditto, let's not call the kettle black. Keg chuckled. Keg turned to Ethan and said, By the way, Ford, didn't you want to chase the new campus queen? Now might be a good opportunity. Later, pull up your pants. Oh no, pull up your courage and go hit on her. We'll be your wingmen. Ethan twitched his lips. Wingmen? Do I need wingmen? Jason leaned in and said proudly, Of course, Ford. You need a professional wingman, like me. I am a professional wingman pilot with at least 10 years of flying experience. Trust me, I'm a pro. As he was speaking, 2 whistles suddenly sounded. Tweet. That student, step out. The dark-skinned drill sergeant shouted, glaring at him. Huh? Sergeant, me? Jason pointed at himself with a confused face. Am I really this unlucky? Yes, you. Step forward. Sergeant Jones shouted. The drill sergeant in front of them was a young man in his 20s named Jones. He looked stern, and his training was extremely strict. He was ripped, and no one dared to disobey him. In other words, during boot camp, One had to unconditionally obey orders from superiors. Jason's face fell as he reluctantly walked out of the formation. You talk a lot, don't you? Looks like you have plenty of energy. 100 push-ups start immediately. Sergeant Jones glared at him and shouted, Yes, sir. Jason smiled bitterly and obediently started doing push-ups. With Jason as an example, the formation fell silent again instantly, no one daring to speak, standing obediently at attention. On the bleachers, Grace ate her rocket pop, looking at Ethan with a smile. Eating ice cream while watching others train under the scorching sun gave her an inexplicable sense of satisfaction. Stinky Ethan, can only watch and can't eat. He must be dying of craving. Grace laughed lightly. Chloe looked at the scorching sun overhead, then at the rocket pop in Grace's hand, licking her lips. Gracie, with the sun this big, the popsicle will melt soon. Let me eat it. Nope, not giving. This is saved for Stinky Ethan. Grace guarded the food like a protective animal, rejecting 3 times instantly. Chloe, sigh, get a boyfriend and forget your best friend. Pain, purely pain. All right, I know you feel for your man. Grace said haughtily, Of course, he's my boyfriend. Of course I care about him. Dana covered her mouth and laughed. I know, physically, right? No, I don't. Grace blushed and denied. Chloe reminded, Hey, Gracie, don't forget our operation. Classy lady later. Got it. Understood. Grace made an okay gesture. 7 or 8 minutes later, the instructors of the 4 classes finally announced dismissal. In CS Class 1, Jason lay on the ground, gasping for breath, his face pale. Ethan asked with a smile, You okay? You try doing 100 push-ups in a row? Of course I'm not okay. Jason rolled his eyes at him. Can you still get up? Isn't the ground hot? Keg asked doubtfully. Jason waved his hand repeatedly, speaking weakly. I can't get up. I have no strength at all. Quick look, the new campus queen and her friend seem to be coming over. Keg suddenly exclaimed. What? Where? Jason sprang up from the ground instantly. Sure enough, the new campus queen was walking towards CS Class 1 with a bottle of Gatorade and a rocket pop in hand. Whoa! The 50-plus students of CS Class 1 immediately erupted, cheering joyfully. Computer science was mostly guys, and at this moment, most of them had turned into animals, staring tightly at the approaching campus queen. Holy crap! Who was she coming for? Could she be coming for me? I'm so handsome. Puffed. Handsome like a bug, maybe. Stop shouting. Actually, she's coming for me. Maybe she's had a crush on me, for a long time. Everyone sneered. Keep dreaming. The boys of CS Class 1 were agitated, everyone subconsciously smoothing their hair and straightening their clothes, wanted to show their best side in front of the campus queen. Keg grinned, immediately puffing out his chest, looking high-spirited. She's looking over. Is she looking at me? Forward. Keg saw the campus queen's gaze focusing this way and got incredibly excited, grabbing Ethan's sleeve beside him and bouncing up and down. Ethan. Jason flipped his center-parted hair and said narcissistically, Ford, if the new campus queen has her eyes on me, don't get excited, and don't blame me. I didn't want this either. Who told me to be so handsome? Ethan slapped his forehead, laughing dumbly. These 2 guys, their brains weren't right. Look, she's walking over. Keg shouted excitedly, straightening his clothes. At this moment, the eyes of the freshmen from all 4 classes on the playground fell on Grace. Grace had a sweet smile on her beautiful face, enough to melt hearts. Who exactly is the campus queen looking for? At this moment, a question rose in everyone's heart simultaneously. Under everyone's gaze, Grace walked towards Ethan's direction. Student, hello, Jason was just about to step up to shake hands, but was completely ignored and bypassed by Grace. He froze instantly, awkward on the spot. Then came various scornful glances sweeping over him. Jason felt extremely embarrassed, wishing he could find a crack in the ground to crawl into. Crap. Huge embarrassment. He looked back and saw Grace actually walking directly up to Ethan and was instantly dumbfounded. Holy crap. The new campus queen actually came to find Ford. The freshmen of CS Class 1 were all stunned. Countless gazes suddenly converged on Ethan, some shocked, some envious, some jealous. Keg and Sam stood right next to Ethan, dumbfounded, mouths wide open. Keg turned his head to look at Ethan in disbelief, screaming internally, Holy crap. When did Ford hook up with the new campus queen? What made him even more incredulous was that the campus queen looked like a shy little girl in front of Ethan. Grace blushed and handed the Gatorade to Ethan. Here, Stinky Ethan, for you. Her voice was thin and gentle, like the buzzing of a mosquito. Ethan looked confused. What's up with Grace today? Thanks. Gracie, are you okay? Grace stared at him with eyes full of tenderness and whispered softly, I'm fine. Nothing's wrong at all. By the way, here's the rocket pop too. Eat it quickly, otherwise it'll melt. Ethan felt uncomfortable being stared at like that. What on earth is wrong with Grace today? Why does she feel like a different person? However, the dialogue between the two reached the ears of others, and the people nearby were all shocked, especially Jason and Keg, who were dumbfounded. Jason ran back to Ethan's side and asked, Ford, you guys, you know each other? More than know each other. I told you guys, she's my girlfriend. You just didn't believe me. Ethan shrugged and laughed. What? Your girlfriend? Jason and Keg shouted almost in unison, their voices spreading through the class instantly. The other freshmen had faces full of shock, and many hearts shattered into pieces. Holy crap, the new campus queen has a boyfriend. She's taken, oh my god, heartache. Immediately, Ethan seemed to hear the sound of much glass shattering. Auditory hallucination. Yeah, is there a problem? Ethan smiled. Keg looked at Grace in astonishment and asked to confirm. Campus queen, really? Grace smiled sweetly and replied, Yes, he's my boyfriend. Keg immediately gave a thumbs up to Ethan, marveling, Ford, that's awesome. Jason patted Ethan's shoulder, praising, Ford, impressive. I'm willing to call you the strongest. Sam looked at Ethan with admiration. To catch such a beautiful girlfriend, simply the envy of others. Ethan glanced at the three of them and smiled. Well, aren't you going to say hello? The three smiled and shouted in unison, Hello, sister-in-law. Hearing the three of them call her sister-in-law, Grace felt her cheeks burn. She just gave a soft MHM to accept the title. Ethan smiled and introduced, Gracie, these three are my roommates. Jason York, Kevin Keg O'Connor, and Sam Tucker. Except for Sam, the other two are goofballs. Grace covered her mouth and laughed, greeting them. Hi everyone, I'm Ethan's girlfriend, Grace Miller. Please take care of Ethan in the future. Hello, sister-in-law. How can we take care of Ford? Usually, it's Ford taking care of us. Keg scratched his head and said politely. Jason nodded. Yeah, Ford is the boss of room 602. Ford is my idol. Sam laughed naively. Grace glanced at Ethan. Oh, didn't realize, stinky Ethan, you're running a gang now. Ethan grinned. What do you think? We're all brothers. Grace rubbed her tummy and pouted. Stinky Ethan, I'm hungry. Let's go to the cafeteria to eat. I'm starving too. Let's go eat. Ethan grinned, took her hand, and then said to the three guys, I won't be eating with you guys this noon. You're on your own. No problem. Go accompany your girlfriend, Ford. The three of us will go to the food strip for noodles later. Jason responded with a laugh. All right, we're off. With that, Ethan held Grace's hand and left under the gaze of countless eyes. Keg watched their retreating figures with a goofy smile. Ford and sister-in-law are so sweet. Envious. Makes me really want to fall in love too. Jason patted his shoulder and laughed. Keg, don't you already have a partner? Edel. How come I don't know? Keg asked in confusion. Jason held up 5 fingers. Yeah, 5-finger Mary, right? Keg. York, I'm going to kill you. On the road, Grace held onto Ethan's arm without speaking. Instead, she occasionally stared at him with a gentle gaze and winked at him. This was a move Chloe taught her for operation, classy lady, called ogling, or making eyes. Grace felt she was executing this action perfectly, occasionally sending him a few waves. Stinky Ethan must think I've become very gentle now, right? Ethan ate his rocket pop, but every time he saw that look in her eyes, he felt a little creeped out, an indescribable weirdness. Gracie, what are you doing? Sand in your eye. No. Then, why do you keep blinking at me? You didn't realize? I am casting amorous glances. Amorous glances? Is that what that was? I'm making eyes at you, giving you the come hither look. You didn't notice even that? What a dummy. Etang, ue, kaomoji, rinku. Cough, I really didn't see it. I thought you had sand in your eye. Grace slapped her forehead, then glared at him. So was my hard work just now for nothing? You didn't see that eye. I become gentler. Gentle? Does that word have anything to do with you? Grace shot him a glance. I'm not gentle. Stinky Ethan, is your skin itching? Ethan suddenly felt a cold, killing intent enveloping his whole body. Ow! It hurts, stop pinching. You're gentle. You're gentle. You are the gentlest woman in the world. Grace finally released the soft flesh at his waist and said haughtily, That's more like it. Ethan wiped the sweat from his forehead. What is wrong with Grace today? Gracie, what do you want to eat today? Grace tapped her chin, thinking. Pork knuckle? No. I'll just have vegetables. She actually really wanted to eat meat, but remembering that gnawing on a knuckle was too unladylike. She could only switch to greens. Aren't you a carnivore? Since when do you love veggies? Ethan was stunned. Grace, can't I change to a lighter taste? No problem. Then I'll eat meat. Ethan laughed. The two walked in front, followed by 3 sneaky figures. Bad news. Plan A seems to have a problem, Chloe said with a serious face. Sue nodded solemnly, then asked after a moment, Chloe, what was Plan A? Chloe almost fell over. You don't know? Next to her, Dana asked with a confused face. Actually, I don't know either. Chloe scratched her head and laughed dryly. Okay, seems I forgot to tell you guys. But it doesn't matter. Next, notify Grace to execute Plan B. Saying that, Chloe took out her phone and sent a text to Grace. Sue asked excitedly, Are we finally executing Plan B? But, what's Plan B? Chloe. Plan B is Operation Gentle Lady Dining. Think about it. A man and a woman sitting together eating. The girl eats slowly, smiles without showing teeth, and frequently puts food in her partner's bowl, telling him to eat more. It shows ladylike demeanor and reflects the girl's care and thoughtfulness for the boy. As long as Grace seriously implements the plan and shows her gentle side, she will definitely make Ethan look at her with new eyes. Huh. Hearing this, Dana nodded and gave a thumbs up. Not bad, not bad. Sudesuna. I get it. Surrealized. Let's catch up quickly. In the cafeteria, it was mealtime, and people were everywhere. Ethan and Grace found a secluded corner table. Grace, wait here for me. I'll go get the food. I bought lots of meal tickets. Ethan said dotingly. Okay. Grace nodded. After Ethan left, Grace secretly took out her phone and checked the text from Chloe. Really have to do this? Grace stared at the text content, stunned. Forget it. Today, I must show my gentle side and make stinky Ethan look at me differently. A while later, Ethan brought over 2 enamel bowls, topped with dishes and rice underneath. Food's here. Here you go. Ethan handed her the bowl covered entirely in vegetables. Grace picked up her chopsticks, picked up a leaf, put it in her mouth, and chewed slowly. The greens today taste really good. Ethan, doesn't it taste the same every day? What flavor can you get out of that? Ethan watched her pick up another small leaf, put it in her mouth, and continue chewing. Cough. Gracie, are you planning to eat only the leaves and leave the stems? Grace covered her mouth and smiled, speaking gently. No, I just think it's better to chew slowly when eating. Ethan twitched his mouth. Is that so? But at your speed, you won't finish until dark. Grace looked at the full bowl of food and felt he was right. She laughed dryly. Then, you eat more. I eat very little. You consume a lot of energy. Eat more. Saying that, Grace moved her vegetables into his bowl. Okay. Ethan shoveled food into his mouth. But every so often, Grace put food in his bowl. Before long, a pile of greens had accumulated on top of Ethan's bowl. Cough. Gracie, actually you don't need to give me food. You won't have any left to eat. Ethan looked at the pile of greens, already feeling full. Hey, serve my boyfriend food. It's what I should do, Grace said seriously. She was seriously implementing the action plan. Ethan rubbed her head, asking doubtfully, You don't have a fever, right? What's wrong with you today? Mental breakdown. Grace glared at him. You're the one with a mental breakdown. She realized something was wrong right after blurting it out, and quickly tried to salvage it. Cough. No, I'm just trying to be a tiny bit gentler today. Ethan shook his head, rubbed her head, and smiled dotingly. Gracie, you don't need to do this specifically. You don't need to change yourself for me. Little dummy, because I like the original you. Grace stared blankly at Ethan, touched by his words. Yeah, if I change myself, am I still me? Then she burst out laughing, with her eyes curving into cute crescents. Stinky Ethan, I guess you're right. Seeing her return to normal, Ethan laughed. That's right. Eat up. Oh, okay. Saying that, Grace reached out with her chopsticks and snatched a big drumstick from his bowl, gnawing on it with big bites. Ethan laughed dumbly. This Grace was the cutest one. Meanwhile, on the other side, Chloe and the other 2 stared in astonishment at Grace, who was chowing down. They were dumbfounded. Chloe slapped her forehead and sighed. Plan B is officially declared a failure. Dana showed an Annie smile, laughing foolishly. Failed? Why do I feel like it succeeded? Sue nodded, showing the same Annie smile. Yeah, they are so sweet I ship it. After eating, the 2 took a walk along the tree-lined paths on campus during the lunch break. Grace walked with her hands behind her back, stepping lightly on the dappled light spots on the ground. Wearing her green camo uniform, she looked like a happy, carefree bird. She turned around, walking backward while looking at Ethan, smiling sweetly. Stinky Ethan, I feel like college is so free. No super heavy academic pressure, not so many rules, and we can use computers in the dorm. Ethan smiled slightly. Yeah, college is pretty relaxed. It's like having one foot in the real world, so of course it's a bit freer. She spun around in place and asked, recently lots of seniors invited me to their clubs. Hip-hop club, calligraphie club, painting club, photographie club, journalisme corps. So many. Stinky Ethan, what club do you want to join? Me? Whatever. Joining a club is just for credits. Ethan shrugged. Grace pouted. Stinky Ethan, just pick one. Wherever you go, I go. I heard the drama club is nice. Less work, relaxing. The main thing is with my Oscar-level acting skills, being a lead is absolutely no problem. Ethan smoothed his bangs. Come on, you have acting skills? Besides the plot holes, you're all holes. Grace covered her mouth and laughed. Don't believe me? Ethan suddenly reached out and pulled her into his arms, then revealed a strange smile on his face. Grace froze, asking in astonishment, what was that smile? HM? You couldn't tell? This smile contains 3 parts coldness, 3 parts mockery, and 4 parts nonchalance. Grace, oh. What the heck? Who could tell that? Ethan laughed dryly, then composed his expression, becoming cool. He lowered his voice and said, Woman, you actually dare to resist me. Very good. You have successfully caught my attention. Grace couldn't hold back her laughter, clutching her stomach. Oh my God, what kind of line is that? I am dying. Ethan kept a straight face and continued. Speak. Do you want cash or a check? Anyway, love is something I definitely can't give you. Then give me the cash. Grace extended her hand cooperatively. Ethan couldn't hold it in either. Ha! Gracie, you're too funny. If you respond like that, there's no next scene. The CEO would die of anger. Grace rolled her eyes and smiled. Isn't that how it should go? Ethan thought for a moment, then suddenly said, Hey, wait, there's one more line. Woman, don't move. If you move again, I can't guarantee what will happen. Grace struggled in his arms a bit and said haughtily, I'll move if I want to. What can you do about it? Ethan smiled slightly, held her, lowered his head, and kissed her lips. MMPH. Grace was startled by the sudden kiss, her eyes wide open, her whole body instantly freezing. The breeze blew, leaves rustling. It was quiet all around, with only the two embracing on the light-dappled road. At this moment, it was as beautiful as a painting. At the distant intersection, Chloe and the other two were the only 3 witnesses. They were also stunned at this moment. Wow, what a beautiful scene, Dana smiled foolishly. Sweet love is like the breath of spring, Sue revealed in Andy's smile. Chloe laughed dumbly. Looks like she really didn't need any gentle lady plan. Half an hour later, Ethan returned to the dorm in a happy mood. As soon as he opened the door, he saw them gathered around Jason's computer. What are you 3 doing? Secretly watching porn? Ethan walked over and asked suspiciously. The 3 turned around in unison. Keg said with a straight face, It's over, Ford. You're in big trouble. Me? What big trouble am I in? Ethan asked in surprise. Jason stood up and said solemnly, Ford, the matter of you and sister-in-law has blown up the school forum. The animals on the forum are shouting to hunt you down. Ford, you are now the public enemy of the whole school. Ethan twitched his lips. Is it that exaggerated? Let me see. He leaned in front of the computer, glanced at it, and was instantly stunned. Explosive news. The new campus queen is taken. My goddess. Dr. Boyfriend, I want to hack him to death. Where's the goddess's partner? Draw your sword. Boo-hoo, don't let me see that kid. Damn it. I challenge him to a duel. Ethan laughed dryly. The internet is too hostile. He didn't expect Grace's influence to be so great. This drew too much aggro. But he didn't care. As long as people didn't mess with him, he wouldn't mess with them. If someone messed with him, he'd wipe out their whole family. Don't worry, Ford. We got her back. Jason laughed. Yeah, if they dare to hit you, we'll definitely cheer for you from behind. Keg said seriously. Ethan, well, thanks a lot for that. As they were chatting, his phone suddenly rang. Ethan took out his phone and checked, a look of surprise flashing in his eyes. It was a call from the boss of Arctic Systems, Matt Thorne. Previously, Ethan had met Matt Thorne, the founder of Arctic Systems, and Zach Bell, the technical supervisor at the Grand Monarch Hotel in Chicago. They had conducted preliminary negotiations on investing in Arctic Systems. At that time, Ethan proposed an investment plan. He would invest $150,000 in Arctic Systems up front for a 10% equity stake and participate in the operations of Arctic Systems. Furthermore, both parties discussed a VM, Valuation Adjustment Mechanism, agreement. In the VM agreement, If Ethan joined Arctic Systems and drove the company's annual revenue to over $1.5 million within a year, he could increase his equity stake to 51%. If the revenue target was not met, Ethan would need to invest another $750,000 into Arctic Systems without receiving additional equity. At the time, both Matt Thorne and Zach Bell were somewhat interested, but the equity change plan needed the approval of other shareholders, including third-party investors Summit Capital and United Telecom, as well as other co-founders. Now that Matt Thorne was calling, there must be progress. Ethan's lips curled into a confident smile. This year was the most difficult year for Arctic Systems. It seemed they were desperate too. After the phone rang 3 times, Ethan answered leisurely. "Hello, Mr. Thorne." Hello, Ethan. I'm calling specifically to tell you some good news today." Matt Thorne's hearty laughter came from the other end of the phone. "Oh, what good news?" Ethan asked, pretending not to know. "After Zach and I took turns working on the other shareholders, everyone has now agreed to discuss your investment. Everyone feels that we should bring in new investors and new funds." Matt said. "Is that so? That's a good thing." Ethan smiled. "But there's still some details that need to be discussed in a meeting with everyone, including the VM agreement." "Ethan, are you free to come to San Jose these next 2 days? Let's set a time so I can notify the other shareholders." Matt asked. Ethan thought for a moment and replied, "I'm only free on the weekend. Tomorrow happens to be Saturday. I can arrive in San Jose at 9 a.m. My available time is quite limited. Does this time work for you, Mr. Thorne?" That works. I also want to settle this matter for the company as soon as possible. Then 9 a.m. tomorrow it is. I'll notify the other shareholders and book a conference room. I'll text you the location later." Matt laughed. "All right, waiting for your message." Ethan smiled. The two finished talking business and chatted for a few more minutes before hanging up. Ethan played with his phone, thinking about how to close this investment deal. His goal for Arctic Systems was complete control, ultimately to obtain 100% of the equity. But he knew this couldn't be rushed. He had to take it slow. You can't get fat with one bite. The first step was to invest and gain some operational management power. The second step was to succeed in the VM agreement and completely master the personnel and operations of Arctic Systems. The third step was to plot to acquire the equity from the original shareholders. Ethan was very ambitious about Arctic Systems because this company would become a behemoth in the future. From Arctic Systems to the entertainment industry it invested in, it could be called a super business empire. Now was the best time to enter Arctic Systems. Once they solved the funding problem and figure out a profit model, there would be nothing left for him. So he had to seize this unique, golden opportunity. Ethan's mind raced, and then he picked up his phone to call Wayne "Tank" Turner. A moment later, the call connected. "Hey, Tank, are you free tomorrow and the day after?" "Ford, tomorrow and the day after are the weekend. I plan to go back to the company to deal with supplier issues." "Is something up, Ford?" "Let Henry help you with those things. Put them aside for now. You're coming with me to San Jose tomorrow and the day after." San Jose? What for, Ford?" Mr. Thorne from Arctic Systems just called me. There's progress on our investment. We have to go to San Jose for a meeting tomorrow morning. I need you to organize a brief summary of our company into a file and send it to me. Also, this is a chance for you to tag along, broaden your horizons, and help out." "Holy crap. That's awesome. No problem, Ford." Tank shouted excitedly on the other end of the phone. He had heard Ethan mention planning to invest in Arctic Systems before. The IceQ software operated by Arctic was considered a well-known software now. He also liked this instant messaging software very much, aside from the occasional crashes and disconnects. Ethan laughed. "All right, see you tomorrow." On the other side, in the president's office of Arctic Systems, Matt Thorne looked at his 4 co-founder companions in front of him and knocked on the table. "You all know the situation. Tomorrow at 9 a.m., Ethan Ford will come to San Jose for the investment meeting. If you have anything you want to bring up, say it now. Arctic Systems was founded by the 5 of us together. I respect your opinions and ideas." Zach Bell sat up straight on the sofa and said seriously, "I agree to let Ethan invest. Although $150,000 isn't much, they have technology and are about to operate a 361 PC safety manager software. If we join forces, perhaps we can increase our company's revenue paths. And most importantly, the VM agreement. If he can't achieve millions in revenue, he will invest another $750,000 later. This can greatly solve our financial difficulties and give us more time to explore profit models. If he can complete the VM agreement, then our company will have blood-making capabilities. In the future, as we increase our user scale, our company can also rise quickly. Overall, it is beneficial to the company. Arctic Systems is our lifeblood. Now the company is in financial trouble. We can't even expand servers. I don't want to watch the company go bankrupt or even be sold off. After he spoke, the office fell into silence. The other three remained silent. Matt didn't speak either. He understood that everyone knew tacitly that this was beneficial to the company, but not so beneficial to the founding shareholders. Sometimes, company interests and personal interests were not aligned. Ethan's joining would inevitably dilute everyone's equity, touching the interests of all shareholders. Why aren't you guys talking? Why am I the only one speaking? Zach showed a trace of dissatisfaction on his face. Matt then spoke up. I think Zach makes a good point. It's a life or death moment for the company. We need to put personal interests aside for a moment and think about the big picture. Danny, Xavier, I know you guys have worked hard for so long and are reluctant to let someone else interfere in company affairs. But this is the only investor we can find right now who is willing to invest directly. If we wait for our revenue to pick up like other capital firms want, the company won't make it past this hurdle. You two state your position first. Danny Chan was a young man with glasses and thin cheeks, under 30, the same age as Matt. He was responsible for administration and HR at Arctic Systems. I agree with Zach and Matt's view, but I have to raise a point first. I don't want Ethan participating in company operations. He's an outsider and doesn't know the company. If he acts recklessly, it could have a negative impact on the company. That risk exists. Another young man with slick back hair, clean and sharp, Xavier Yale, was responsible for customer relations and external affairs. I think Danny's concern is valid. Introducing a new investor is understandable and needed, but I oppose Ethan directly participating in company affairs. With these two stating their positions, Matt remained expressionless but was clear in his mind. They just didn't want their equity diluted too much or their power taken by others. This was personal interest. Subsequently, Matt looked at the last partner. Zane, you are our company's COO. What do you think? Zane King, the main operations head of Arctic Systems, responsible for IceQ marketing and operations. He had the most power and responsibility. Zach makes sense. We need to find a new method, a new path to increase revenue as soon as possible. This is a problem that has plagued us. Perhaps Ethan will bring us a different solution. However, I also agree with Danny and the others. We can't let him join rashly. At the very least, he needs to familiarize himself with our company's business and technical situation, and then we'll look at his solution. Sai, as the head of operations, it's been almost 2 years. I've tried several profit plans, none very ideal. I feel truly guilty. After Zane finished speaking, he sighed heavily, looking helpless. Matt waved his hand. This isn't an accountability meeting. Let's not talk about that. Now we've at least reached a partial consensus, which is that we can introduce Ethan's investment. Everyone agrees on this. However, the investment conditions include participating in company affairs and fulfilling the VM agreement. This cannot be bypassed. Zane is right. We can give Ethan the space to participate in operations, but we also need to prevent new risks. I will keep an eye on this matter personally. I will take full responsibility. As for his initial 10% equity allocation, we discussed it before. Summit Capital and United Telecom will each yield 1%. You guys yield 1%, and the remaining 4% will be diluted from my equity. If he completes the $1 million revenue VM, then we'll convene a shareholder meeting and discuss it together. After Matt said, take full responsibility, the others in the office looked shocked. They also saw Matt's determination to make this happen. Danny pondered for a moment, then nodded. Then let's do as Matt says. Although everyone present was a founder and partner, Matt had the decisive power in the team. The others nodded in agreement as well. A smile finally appeared on Matt's face. All right, everyone go back and prepare. Tomorrow at 9 a.m., we meet Ethan Ford. The next morning, San Jose, the Grand Bay Hotel. This hotel was one of the few 5-star hotels in the area, with luxurious and grand architecture, quite famous in San Jose. Matt Thorne and his group of 5, along with his secretary, arrived at the hotel first and waited in the lobby. A while later, at 8:30, 2 black Buick business sedans arrived at the hotel entrance simultaneously. 2 middle-aged men with slick back hair stepped out from the front and rear cars respectively. One wore gold-rimmed glasses and a suit. The other wore a casual jacket, had a slightly chubby figure, and a kind face. Matt and the 5 greeted them, smiling. Mr. Fisher, Mr. Foster, good morning. The middle-aged man in the suit was the vice president of Summit Capital, Gary Fisher, representing Summit at this meeting. The other middle-aged man in the jacket was named Steve Foster, the general manager of the investment division at United Telecom. Hi, you guys are early. Are the people from Westford here yet? Gary Fisher asked with a smile. Matt looked at the time and replied, "Just talked on the phone. They'll be here soon." Steve Foster smiled and said, "Matt, you're quite capable, pulling in new investment so quickly. Congratulations." Although he was smiling, a look of dissatisfaction flashed in his eyes. He had long been dissatisfied with Matt. If Matt failed to manage the company, the $1 million+ invested by the company would be completely wasted. Now, although new investors and new funds were being introduced, if the revenue dilemma couldn't be solved, the fundamental problem remained. For investors like them who didn't participate in specific operations, return on investment was paramount. If they could recoup the investment cost, great. If they lost it all, it was a major investment failure. United Telecom and Summit Capital had co-invested, and they held the same view on this matter. Bringing in new funds was understandable, but the most fundamental thing was to improve the company's profitability. Arctic Systems had been established for almost 2 years. Most of the money had been burned on manpower and server costs, but a profit model had been slow to emerge, and there had been several failures. This caused deep doubts in their hearts about Matt and his team. Matt bowed slightly and said, "Bringing in new funds is imminent. As long as we get through this difficulty, the company will get better." Gary Fisher smiled non-committally. Steve Foster nodded and smiled. "Hope so. By the way, I saw the investment plan. Is Westford really willing to sign a VAM agreement?" "Yes, Mr. Foster. They're quite sincere. And their company is also making an internet product, a hit product at that. It looks like they have the ability to fulfill the agreement." Matt replied, "It would be great if they can really do it. Just worried he's talking big. Hee, but it doesn't matter. You have to try everything to know the result." Steve shrugged and laughed. He didn't care about the $150,000 investment at all. That was pocket change. He hoped more to see the new investor add profitability to Arctic Systems, so the equity value would be higher. That way, if he sold it later, someone would take it, and at least the investment wouldn't be a loss. As a group was chatting, a black Audi A6 suddenly drove up to the lobby entrance. Everyone subconsciously looked toward the door. They saw 2 young men in white shirts and black dress pants get out of the car. The valet took the keys to park the car, and the 2 young men walked quickly into the hotel lobby. The young man walking in front, sporting a sideswept fringe, had delicate features and a confident, calm smile on his face, a golden watch on his wrist. Seeing the arrival, Matt Thorne's eyes lit up. He quickly stepped forward to welcome him, smiling. "Haha, welcome Ethan to San Jose." "Hello, Matt. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm not late, am I?" Ethan laughed heartily. No, we just arrived not long ago." Matt took the initiative to reach out and shake Ethan's hand firmly. Subsequently, Matt introduced Ethan to everyone. Ethan shook hands with them, getting to know each other. Steve Foster narrowed his eyes and scrutinized Ethan carefully. His first impression of this person was young, very young, probably in his early 20s. Although dressed maturely, his face still had some childishness. But what surprised him was that this young man didn't have stage fright at all. Instead, his behavior and conversation were very calm and composed, even mature and seasoned. For a young man in his early 20s, to have such a performance was truly surprising. "Haha, Ethan, I heard from Matt that your computer business in Chicago is booming. To have such ability at such a young age, the younger generation is to be feared. What do they call this? Young blood replacing the old guard. Ethan, this wave of yours is impressive." Steve praised. Ethan smiled slightly. "Mr. Foster, you're joking. It's all thanks to the guidance of seniors like you that I have achieved a little success. I can hardly be considered a wave. In the future, I still need to learn from seniors like you and Mr. Fisher." Ethan spoke neither humbly nor arrogantly, calling them seniors to give them face and draw the relationship closer. Hearing this, a look of appreciation flashed in Gary Fisher's eyes. "Haha, Ethan, you're too polite. In business, we should exchange and learn from each other. I'm also very interested in the computer market. Let's find a chance to have a good exchange later." His words were just polite pleasantries. For Summit Capital, a few million was just small business, not much interest. "Sure, no problem." Ethan responded with a smile, not pushing further and into the topic. This actually made Steve Foster look at him with new respect. In the past, when he met those small company bosses, once they knew he was an investment, they sucked up until his ass was numb, wishing they could drag him for a drink to talk investment immediately. Now, it was clear that this Ethan was different. He was confident, and this confidence came from within, stemming from strength. "Since Ethan has arrived, let's go to the conference room together." Matt gestured. The group chatted and laughed as they walked to the reserved conference room. Matt sat at the head of the table. Ethan and Tank sat on the right, everyone else on the left. It was Tank's first time seeing such a lineup, and he was inevitably very nervous, his palms sweating. He whispered to Ethan, "Ford, is there anything else I need to do later?" His voice was trembling a bit. Ethan patted his shoulder and soothed him in a low voice. "Don't be so nervous. Just hand out cigarettes when you see the chance. Those two bosses smoke." I got it." Tank took a deep breath to calm himself down completely. Being out and about, he didn't want to embarrass Ethan. He had to be stronger inside. Ethan smiled and whispered, "That's the spirit. Just treat it like a chat. You just listen from the side." Ethan intended for Tank to come along to train him, so he would be more at ease when discussing matters outside later. "Zach, distribute our plan. Let Ethan and everyone see the specific details." Matt instructed. Zach Bell got up and handed a copy of the document to everyone. The content of this meeting was to confirm the investment plan, which included the specific cash investment amount and entry time, the VM agreement, and more content was a detailed introduction of Arctic Systems, including background scale, major shareholders, team, employees, products, operations, and other situations. These were detailed materials that investors had to understand. Ethan spent more than half an hour carefully reading the entire plan. It was mostly as expected. From the financial statements and financial status, it could be seen that Arctic Systems was spending more than it earned, and spending a lot. The main costs were labor and server setup. Just server maintenance cost up to $30,000 a month. No wonder IceQ crashed often. This maintenance cost looked high, but relative to IceQ's huge user base, it was considered low. These few months were indeed the most difficult time for Arctic Systems. As for the investment amount and entry time, Ethan had no objections. 1 week to complete the $150,000 capital injection. But the clauses in the VM agreement. One clause stated that Ethan only had advisory rights in the company and suggested content still needed the review of Arctic Systems' other partners. Ethan frowned. Doesn't this compress my space to participate in operations to the minimum? If he didn't get power and do it himself, the $1 million revenue target might face accidents. Because he couldn't control the progress of specific work tasks, which was also very unfavorable for him to fight for internal power at Arctic Systems. Matt also noticed Ethan's expression and asked, "Does Ethan have any thoughts on this plan?" Ethan put the document on the table and said indifferently, "The other content is okay, but this VM agreement won't do." "Matt, is this the sincerity you guys are showing?" As his voice fell, the scene fell into silence. Everyone looked at him with astonishment. No one expected Ethan's attitude to suddenly become so aggressive. Matt Thorne was stunned. For a long moment, he narrowed his eyes, staring at Ethan Ford, and asked calmly, "Mr. Ford, do you feel there's something inappropriate about the VM agreement?" His heart grew heavy. He realized Ethan wasn't someone easily fooled. The young man was shrewd. The conference room was dead silent. Ethan rapped his knuckles on the table, the thud-thud sound seeming to echo in everyone's chest. "Mr. Thorne, the agreement states, I only have the right to consult on company affairs." "That's not right. If that's the case, why bet against me? Does this agreement even have a purpose then?" Ethan stared back at Matt without flinching. Their gazes locked, neither showing any sign of backing down. The once harmonious atmosphere in the room instantly turned frosty. Steve Foster and Gary Fisher exchanged a glance, knowing better than to speak. They were just shareholders with no right to interfere in operations. Besides, they had no intention of getting involved, preferring to watch coldly from the sidelines. However, Steve glanced at Ethan, finding this young man interesting and bold. He could tell Ethan had one goal: power. He wanted a voice within Arctic Systems. When it came to his own interests, this young man dared to break the delicate harmony. This kind of boldness wasn't something an ordinary person possessed. It required great courage and nerve. At this moment, Danny broke the silence, speaking softly, "Mr. Ford, we're just worried that since you're new and unfamiliar with company affairs, rushing into operations might be overwhelming for you and could affect the company's business." On the surface, he was being considerate, but the underlying meaning was clear. You don't know the company, so stay out of specific operations. Ethan shot him a glance and smiled faintly. "Mr. Danny, do I look like someone who's afraid of being overwhelmed?" He said it with a smile, but it effectively shut Danny down. Saying yes would be wrong, and saying no would be even worse. Danny was momentarily tongue-tied. Beside him, Steve chuckled, feeling Ethan's imposing presence. As an investor, he had to show strength. Matt's face darkened slightly, then he forced a smile. "Mr. Ford, I think we should wait until we've worked together for a while. Once you're familiar with the company, we can discuss how to achieve the $10 million revenue target." That's our goal, after all. We'll be a team, and I'll certainly be willing to let you take the reins then. Matt wasn't letting up. He wanted Ethan to sign the agreement first and discuss power later. He was trying to stall Ethan, unwilling to easily give up control. Ethan smiled slightly. Mr. Thor makes a valid point. Hearing this, everyone else relaxed slightly, the tension in the room easing. Then let's wait until that time to discuss the investment. I can use the extra time to learn more about your company, Ethan said calmly. Hiss. Everyone gasped. They thought Ethan had compromised, but instead, he was suggesting delaying the investment or perhaps implying the possibility of not investing at all. And his attitude was incredibly firm. Steve was astonished. He hadn't expected Ethan to push the brinkmanship this far. What leverage did he have? Ethan pulled a disc from his bag, placed it on the table, and smiled. This is the profitability model I designed for IceQ. But this plan only works if I personally arrange and execute it. If I only have consulting rights, I can't control the process, and the plan loses its meaning. After speaking, Ethan put the disc away, swept his gaze over the group, shrugged, and said, "It seems today isn't the right time to talk business. But it's been an honor meeting you all. If there's nothing else, I have to go back and handle my own company's affairs." His message was clear. I'm out. You figure out. Ethan. Zach Bell looked anxious, opening his mouth to stop him. He really didn't want to miss this opportunity. In 2 months, the company's capital chain would break. Steve and Gary were also extremely surprised. Was his deal really going to fall through? Was Matt truly unwilling to share power? If neither side stepped back, the negotiation couldn't continue. Just as Ethan was about to stand up, Matt, who had been silent for a long time, finally spoke. Mr. Ford, wait. No ruse, no ruse. I've just thought about it, and what you said makes sense. I believe in your ability to create higher value for the company. I propose that Mr. Ford serve as the vice president of our company, in charge of the operations department, partnering with Zane. What do you all think? Danny's face sank, but he didn't speak. Zach Bell nodded. I think that works. Zane is most familiar with operations. Pairing Ethan with Zane is perfect. Zane King was stunned for a moment, then responded, I'll follow Mr. Thorne's arrangement and do my best. A gleam flashed in Steve's eyes. Matt had conceded. He gave up power. Ethan's brinkmanship had succeeded. It seemed Arctic Systems' financial situation was worse than reported. They desperately needed new funds and a profitable business model. To survive, Matt was willing to share power. Since Matt had conceded, it meant the hope of changing the profit situation now rested on Ethan. Steve had seen the report on West Ford Electronics. Besides the computer business, West Ford was preparing to launch a software called 361 PC Safety Manager. It was the only software in the industry using heuristic scanning technology. Its profit model was clear and very promising. Considering the 361 factor, if IceQ and 361 PC Safety Manager were bundled, it could bring hope to IceQ. Thinking of this, Steve suddenly laughed. Mr. Ford, look, Mr. Thorne is very sincere. I think Arctic Systems needs some fresh blood to revitalize it. Steve was speaking up for Ethan, offering an olive branch. With even Steve saying so, Matt put on a warm smile and said to Ethan, I'll have Zach adjust the agreement right now. What do you think, Mr. Ford? For a moment, everyone looked at Ethan, all eyes fixed on him. Ethan grinned. Mr. Thorne's proposal is excellent. I'm honored to join Arctic Systems and become part of the team. Matt laughed loudly. We're even more honored to have you. I believe that by working together, we can definitely make IceQ bigger and stronger. Next to him, Wayne Tank Turner witnessed the gamble in the meeting and was eye-opened. His admiration for Ethan grew even deeper. Ethan's negotiation skills were high, too high. Subsequently, Zach Bell went to modify the VM agreement and investment contract, then brought them for Ethan to check. After checking them several times and finding no issues, Ethan agreed to sign on the spot. Matt and Ethan each signed their names, affixed their private seals and the official seal, and then exchanged documents to sign again. Once the signing was complete, Matt stood up and extended his hand, smiling. Thank you for your trust, Mr. Ford. Here's to a happy cooperation. Ethan stood up and shook his hand, smiling in response. Yes, I'll be looking to you for guidance, Mr. Thorne. The two looked at each other, smiling warmly, seemingly satisfied with the cooperation. Beneath the harmonious and friendly surface lay countless schemes and calculations. With the partnership finalized, Steve Foster was pleased to see it happen. With new investment, the company's valuation would rise, and the equity value would increase accordingly, which was beneficial to him. Haha, congratulations all around. Since it's such a happy occasion, why don't we all grab dinner together? Steve suggested. Great idea. Zach, go ahead and book a table, Matt said, turning to Zach Bell. You got it. No problem. Zach was in a great mood, grinning as he turned and left the conference room. After the business was concluded, everyone took their seats. The server brought in tea, and they chatted over drinks. Steve took out his cigarettes, craving a smoke. Seeing this, Tank immediately stood up to distribute cigarettes, calling out, Here, here, gentlemen. Business is done. Have a smoke. Steve glanced at Tank with appreciation, thinking the young man knew how to conduct himself. Mr. Ford subordinates are all young talents. Haha. Steve praised. Ethan wasn't modest. Instead, he said seriously, Tank has always been my right-hand man. His capability and execution are excellent. Hearing this and receiving recognition from both men, Tank felt secretly excited and proud. Gary Fisher also accepted a cigarette from Tank, smiling. Ability is what matters. Only with ability can you achieve results. The young man looked spirited and full of drive. That's good. Everyone in the room smoked, including Matt. In Ethan's memory, Matt was a seasoned smoker and also enjoyed drinking. He didn't shy away from tobacco or alcohol. They smoked and chatted about everything except business. Ethan understood that certain things, especially specific company difficulties and problems, wouldn't be discussed in front of investors. Discussing company problems in front of investors was sheer stupidity. So Ethan joined them in discussing other topics, food, travel destinations, and the like. About 10 minutes later, Zach returned to announce that the private room and menu were arranged. Everyone went to the second floor of the Grand Bay Hotel for lunch. Ethan truly enjoyed the meal. It was purely a social gathering with some light drinking and no business talk, mainly because there were too many people. However, Steve hinted a few times that he and Ethan should get together another day, and Ethan readily agreed. After the meal, they exchanged contact information, and Ethan and Tank took their leave. Tank drove on the way back because Ethan had drunk quite a bit and could only rest in the passenger seat. Ethan, you're the vice president of IceQ now. How do you plan to handle things moving forward? Tank asked excitedly as he drove. Ethan narrowed his eyes slightly. Naturally, we follow the plan. IceQ has huge potential and many ways to make money. They just haven't figured out the path in the less than 2 years they've been established. For example, the Q membership item in the plan. It's not just a simple convenience like a cyber cafe membership where you get a discount. That would only get us flamed by users. Instead, it's about building a system to add value for members, making them truly feel that being a distinguished IceQ member makes them different, satisfying their social needs. That's how we succeed. Tank looked thoughtful. Ethan, I get it. Is this about digging into potential user needs? Ethan nodded, smiling faintly. Exactly. As long as the need truly exists, there's a market, and there's a chance to make money. I get it now, Ethan. Tank felt suddenly enlightened. It was already afternoon when the two returned to the university. Ethan went back to his dorm and fell straight asleep. He slept like the dead, not waking up until early the next morning. Subconsciously reaching for his phone, he saw several missed calls, all from Grace Miller, along with her text messages. Text 1, Grace. Ethan, you jerk, why aren't you picking up? I was thinking we could go out since it's the weekend. Forget it now. Text 2, Grace. Hey, what's going on? I called you so many times. What are you doing? I'm so mad my liver hurts. Text 3, Grace. If your highness is going to bed, I'll deal with you tomorrow. Text 4, Grace. I can't sleep. I miss you, you jerk. Looking at the text from Grace, the corners of Ethan's mouth couldn't help but curl up into a sweet smile. This girl, she misses me, but still talks tough. But she's not actually angry, is she? Ethan got out of bed and looked around the dorm. It was still very early, and his 3 roommates were still asleep. He took a cold shower to wake himself up completely. He left the dorm, intending to call Grace, but worried it was too early and might disturb her sleep. Unexpectedly, Grace called him first. Ethan was stunned, surprised she was up so early, and answered immediately. Just as he put the phone to his ear, a lion's roar came from the other end. Ethan, Ford, you finally decided to answer my call? Speak. Where were you fooling around last night? Ethan quickly moved the phone away, fearing his eardrum might shatter. Hey, Grace, don't get mad. I went to San Jose yesterday for business, work stuff. Ethan then gave a rough explanation. After listening, Grace calmed down. Fine. But tell me next time, or else. You made me worry all night. Ethan's heart warmed, and he coaxed. Okay. I'll definitely tell you in advance next time. It's Sunday today. How about we go on a date? I promised to buy you some clothes last time. As Ethan spoke, an image of Grace wearing a Sailor Moon outfit, transforming into a cute anime girl, floated into his mind. That scene would be absolutely amazing. Slurp, he almost drooled. On the other end, hearing about the date, Grace shouted happily, "Okay, see you downstairs at the dorm in an hour." Huh. The call ended. On the other side, Grace bounced up from her bed happily, her long, smooth legs kicking in the air. Chloe Jones was putting on makeup at her desk. Seeing Grace in the mirror, she laughed. Who was it that said her liver hurt from anger last night? Who said she was going to fix someone today? What? He mentions a date, and you're this happy. Grace's cheeks blushed. She pouted and said, Did I say that last night? Chloe, girls in love, it doesn't just change their IQ. It thickens their skin too. Grace, what are you guys planning to do on your date? Chloe turned around and asked curiously. Grace got out of bed and put on her shoes, replying casually, shopping for clothes, of course. Ethan said he'd take me to buy some new outfits. Just buying clothes? That's it. Chloe looked skeptical. Grace rolled her eyes. Yeah, that's it. What else would we do? Dummy, what couple goes on a date just to buy clothes? Do you think you're going out with your parents? Of course, you do things that hot-blooded young men and women should do. Chloe said seriously. At this moment, Dana sat up in bed and raised her hand. I know this one. Dinner, shopping, movies. That's what couples do. Answer. Wrong. Chloe flatly denied it. Huh? Wrong? Then what's the right answer? Dana looked confused. Grace was also a bit lost. When she and Ethan went out, they usually only did two things, walk and eat. That was it. She had no experience, so she didn't know the right answer either. Chloe stood up and patted her chest. Based on my experience studying 18 romance dramas, if a guy asks a girl out and they don't do something meaningful, are they doing justice to their youth? Dinner, shopping, movies, those are just foreplay, and they're low-tech with a low barrier to entry, which is why everyone does them. The correct answer should be, inside a distinct space, just the two of you, being affectionate and lovey-dovey. For example, a date at a dance club. Think about it. In the dimly lit dance club, holding each other gently, with soothing melodies in your ears, dancing gracefully to the rhythm. How warm and sweet is that? So many heroines in those dramas have scenes dancing with the male lead. After sufficient foreplay, then, you do what comes next. Dana praised loudly. Great idea. Chloe is truly our dorm's relationship guru. Haha, you flatter me. Just third best in the world. Average, really. Chloe laughed smugly. Grace covered her mouth and giggled. So, relationship guru Chloe, where's your boyfriend? Chloe's smile instantly froze on her face. Sigh, I don't even know if my boyfriend has been born yet, or what his name is. Mentioning this, Chloe's face was left with only resentment. Grace, but listen to me this time. It's guaranteed to work. It'll definitely make your feelings skyrocket in a single day. Chloe said solemnly. Skyrocket? In a single day? Grace blinked in confusion. Chloe felt the idiom was a bit off, then corrected. Ahem, we can also say progress 1,000 miles in a day. Anyway, it's about adding fuel to the fire of your love. Grace, understood. Chloe, you're an honor student at a top university. What are these idioms? Dana excitedly said. Hey, Grace, those are minor details. The point is Chloe is right. I think a dance club date is nice, very nice. See, Dana thinks it's good too. After dancing, you can find a motel, an inn, or a hotel nearby. There must be plenty. Chloe grinned. Why go to a hotel? The dorm has beds too, Grace said, stunned. Chloe slapped her forehead. Who said you go to a hotel just to sleep? Can't two vigorous young lovers do things lovers do? By then, drywood meets fire, burning fiercely. Burn violently. That is youth. Grace's face flushed red instantly. Knowing what Chloe meant, she spat. What are you talking about? I don't want to. That kind of thing was embarrassing just to think about. If I'm ignoring you, I'm getting ready to go. Saying that, she grabbed her clothes and dashed into the bathroom. When she came out, she was wearing a white shirt and jeans, a style reminiscent of 90s Hong Kong fashion. Oh, willing to wear new clothes today? Chloe teased. Grace blushed and pouted. Clothes are meant to be worn. Why wouldn't I be willing? She sat at her desk and started applying makeup. Grace usually didn't wear makeup, finding it troublesome. She only put on light makeup when going out with Ethan. After spending over half an hour getting ready, Grace stood up. Girls, I'm off to have fun. Ugh. Chloe made a hand gesture. Grace walked out the door, then suddenly thought of something. She looked back and saw the others were busy with their own things, not paying attention to her. She quietly sneaked back, opened her drawer, and slipped her ID card into her wallet. After securing it, she blushed and quickly slipped away. Downstairs at the girls' dormitory, Ethan was already waiting at the entrance. At this moment, a young man with slick back hair walked over, holding a heart-shaped box of chocolates. The young man stood not far from Ethan. The two looked like door gods, causing the girls entering and exiting to cast puzzled glances at them. "Hey, buddy, waiting for your girlfriend?" The slick-haired young man was bored and struck up a conversation with Ethan. "Yeah," Ethan replied casually. The young man leaned in, smiling smugly. "I'm waiting for my girlfriend too. My future girlfriend." Ethan twitched his lips. A girlfriend is a girlfriend. What's with the term future girlfriend? Just then, Grace's figure appeared at the dorm entrance. "Hey, look, my future girlfriend is here." The young man was ecstatic, quickly straightening his clothes. He stared intently at Grace, looking somewhat nervous. When he saw Grace walking over, heading in his direction, his heart pounded with excitement. "The goddess is walking towards me. Is today my lucky day?" The young man quickly took a few steps forward, holding out the chocolates. Gressa. But Grace walked right past him, diving straight into Ethan's arms. "Morning, you jerk." Grace looked up, smiling sweetly. Crack. The young man froze in place, watching Grace hug Ethan, his heart shattering into pieces on the ground. "Morning, Grace." Ethan petted her head affectionately. "Let's go. Let's grab something to eat first." "I'm starving." Grace held onto Ethan's arm intimately, acting coquettishly. "Sure, no problem." Ethan nodded, then looked at the young man and smiled. "Buddy, this is my current girlfriend, and she's my future one too." With that, Ethan and Grace turned and left. Watching their retreating figures, the young man felt like he'd been struck by lightning and slumped to the ground. Oh no! Snowflakes drifting, the north wind whistling. The young man sat on the ground for a long time, looking dazed. Then he stood up again, clenched his fist, and gritted his teeth. Ryan Yates will not give up. I'll be back. I'll snatch you back with my own hands. That's right, snatch back." Passing girls looked at him with eyes full of pity for the mentally challenged. Is this guy's brain broken? Meanwhile, Ethan and Grace were at a food street, sitting at a roadside stall eating bagels. "Ethan, is your veggie bagel good?" Grace asked, looking up after finishing her sausage bagel. "If you want some, just say so. Here, have a bite." Ethan smiled and stuffed the bagel into her mouth. MMPH. Grace took a huge bite, mumbling, "So good." Ethan teased, "You're greedy, eating yours while eyeing mine. I just want to eat your bagel. Got a problem with that." Grace puffed out her chest, lifting her chin arrogantly. Ethan glanced at her and said seriously, "No problem. Actually, I want to eat your bagel too." "Not giving it." "Humph." Grace shielded the remaining sausage bagel on her table to prevent Ethan from stealing it. "Hee. One day, I'll definitely get to eat it." Ethan licked his lips, smiling wickedly. "Huh." Grace paused, then seeing his expression, looked disgusted. "You, Ethan, what does that look? So creepy." "Creepy? Is it? No way." Ethan straightened his face, looking righteous. Grace asked casually, "Are you full? Want to order something else?" "No, I just want bagels." "And I want two." Ethan laughed, then raised his hand and shouted to the owner, "Boss, 2 more sausage bagels, the big ones." Grace covered her mouth and laughed. "Come on, aren't all the bagels the same size?" Ethan chuckled. "Different. Some are. Slightly bigger than yours." "Huh, there are bagels bigger than mine." Grace was stunned, and following his gaze, looked down at her chest. "Ethan Ford, you have a death wish." "Grace, don't be impulsive. Impulse is the devil." "Then I am the devil herself. Don't hide." "Grace, what do you want? Don't be like this." "Jerk, stick your dog head over here." "I won't. You gonna bite me?" "Ow, holy crap. Grace, are you part dog? Let go." Woof, woof, woof. After leaving 2 rows of teeth marks on Ethan's hand, Grace finally let go, satisfied. At that moment, the owner brought over 2 sausage bagels. "Bagels are here. Young man, I picked the 2 biggest ones for you." Ethan took the bagels, paid, and then held them up, comparing them in front of Grace. "Hey, looks about the same size." "Guresu, akasangurabu daishume." Ethan instantly felt a bone-chilling, killing intent. Run fast." Ethan immediately got up and bolted. "Ethan, don't run. Hand over your life." An hour later, downtown, the Metro Mall. "Grace, don't be mad. I'll treat you to a rocket pop. Achimepeachino." "Then, how about 2? That's more like it." Ethan finally paid the price of 2 rocket pops to coax her back. Watching Grace happily licking the popsicle, Ethan secretly laughed. Grace really was easy to coax. "Ethan, what clothes did you want to buy me?" Grace took a bite of the popsicle, having finished the first one, and asked, "Hee, you'll know when we get there." "Here, it's inside the Metro Mall." Ethan said mysteriously. Hmm? What kind of clothes are so mysterious? It's not. You something indecent, is it? Grace's pretty face turned red as images of black lace nightgowns from TV dramas floated into her mind. And black silk stockings. No, that's too wicked. I won't wear that. Grace, what are you thinking? Of course, it's something you can wear in public. Don't worry, I guarantee you'll like it too. Ethan laughed. Really? Let's go then. Grace looked expectant. Hey, you haven't finished eating yet. Finish that first, Ethan said. Grace crunched through the second rocket pop in 3 bites. They are finished now. Ethan, Sigma-Day. The two walked through the Metro Mall, and Ethan led her to an imported clothing boutique. The clothes I want to buy you are in here, Ethan smiled. Where? Which style? Grace looked around, seeing various clothes on the racks, but unable to distinguish a specific style. A saleswoman in a professional suit walked up with a practiced smile. Do you two need help? Please show us all all the sailor-style uniforms in your store, Ethan smiled. Okay, sir. Please come this way. The saleswoman paused, looking at the young boy who didn't seem rich, yet spoke so grandly. But out of professional ethics, she intended to serve them well. The saleswoman led them to the sailor uniform display area. The window displayed various styles of sailor suits, short skirts, mini skirts, and super mini skirts. Basically, no long skirts. Ethan glanced at them, quite satisfied. Nice. Wow, such beautiful clothes. Grace saw sailor suits in real life for the first time and looked pleasantly surprised. Sir, miss, these are all the sailor suits in our store. All of them, the saleswoman emphasized. Ethan nodded, then said to Grace, Grace, I'll pick a few sets for you. Go try them on. Huh, you're picking for me? Grace asked, stunned. What? Do you doubt your boyfriend's aesthetic taste? Ethan laughed. Fine, you pick. As long as I like them. Grace said arrogantly. Don't worry, you'll definitely like what I pick. Ethan said solemnly. With that, Ethan went to pick clothes. He walked around and first chose a set with a white short-sleeve shirt and a super short skirt. This combination will definitely look good on Grace. Here, Grace, try this set first. Grace took the clothes and looked at them, blushing. Ethan, this skirt is a bit short, isn't it? Is it supposed to be this short? Ethan bullshitted with a straight face. It's a set, so the coordination is fine. Hey, since we're here, just try it. Okay, I'll try it. Grace turned apple red and nodded. She took the clothes to the fitting room. Ethan pulled up a chair and sat right outside the fitting room, filled with anticipation. So nervous, so exciting. Grace, hurry up and let me see. After an anxious wait, the fitting room door finally opened again. The next moment, Ethan's eyes went straight. Holy crap. Stunning, absolutely stunning. Grace in a sailor suit was the complete package. The saleswoman beside him was also stunned, her eyes wide. Grace's beautiful face held a shy blush. She gripped the hem of her skirt with both hands. Beneath the hem, her fair, slender legs were revealed, inviting imagination. This sailor suit perfectly showcased her tall, graceful, and flawless figure. She exuded the aura of a youthful maiden. A single glance was enough to make one's heart pound. Her eyes flowed like waves. Her look was captivating, charming enough to topple kingdoms. Feeling Ethan's gaze, she shyly tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Ethan, do I look good? Ethan, do I look good? Grace asked again, seeing Ethan's dazed expression. Ethan snapped out of it and praised. Good? You look incredible. I think the style is pretty too, it's just. The skirt seems a bit short. Grace tugged shyly at the hem. It was the first time she had worn a skirt this short, almost reaching her thighs. She walked out of the fitting room and checked herself in the full-length mirror, full of joy. Ethan walked to her side and whispered with a smile, You little fool, this outfit. Just wear it for me from now on, okay? Grace glared at him, her face flushing red. Bad guy. What is going on in your brain? Guess your big head. Pervert. Hey, I'm honored to receive that title. Ethan, you have such thick skin. Do I have skin? I'm shameless now. Okay, you win. At this moment, the saleswoman walked over exclaiming, Sir, your girlfriend looks absolutely beautiful in this set. I've been selling clothes here for 3 years, and your girlfriend is the most beautiful girl I've ever seen. The saleswoman's barrage of compliments made Grace embarrassed. Ethan, should we buy this one? Grace looked up and asked. Buy it. Of course we buy it. As long as you like it. Ethan said readily. Really? That's great. Grace hugged him happily, like a child who just got a new toy. Ethan petted her head affectionately, smiling. I'm your boyfriend. If I don't spoil you, who will? Seeing this, the saleswoman smiled like a proud aunt. This young couple is so sweet. I really envy love like that. Ethan then picked out 5 more sailor suits in different colors and styles for Grace. The skirts were all knee-length, similar to what she usually wore. Grace tried them on one by one, stunning everyone each time she emerged from the fitting room. She liked all the styles, and Ethan bought them all without a second thought. Then Grace picked out a few other trendy casual outfits and dresses she liked, and he said bye to those too. At the checkout, the cashier's jaw dropped in shock. A total of 20 new outfits, including the sailor suits and other trendy clothes. Sir, your total comes to $3,000 even. The cashier handed over the bill respectfully. Grace was dumbfounded hearing the number. She quickly grabbed Ethan's arm. Ethan, that's too expensive. Should we go to the wholesale market instead? $3,000 was enough for a normal family's expenses for months. She had never spent so much money in her life, let alone all at once. Ethan tapped her small nose and teased. Relax, your boyfriend is worth millions. This is nothing. Besides, if money isn't for spending, what are you saving it for? To take to the grave? Saying that, Ethan took out his card to pay and left an address for the shop to deliver the clothes later. Leaving the store, the two held hands and continued shopping. At noon, they bought various snacks and found a quiet corner in a nearby park to eat. Ethan, open up. What for? Feeding you a pretzel bite. Ow. Grace popped a pretzel bite into Ethan's mouth. Ethan chewed for a moment and laughed. What kind of gourmet bite is this? It's just dough with some salt. Fake. No wonder it's cheap. Grace rolled her eyes and teased. You can tell? Exaggerating much? You talk like you eat gourmet food all the time. Ethan smiled non-committally. Gourmet? He had eaten plenty of it in his past life. Grace, let's trade. Ethan smacked his lips, eyeing her hot dog. Although it was cheap, it did smell good. Grace quickly shielded her food, eyeing him warily. What are you trading? I'll give you my sausage. You give me your pretzel? I want to eat your pretzel. Ethan waved the fragrant sausage in his hand before her eyes. Grace got greedy, licking her lips. Deal. But 1 sausage for 2 bites. Deal. Hand it over. Ethan laughed. They swapped food. Grace took a huge bite, eating half the sausage in one go, looking very happy. My God, Grace, your mouth looks small, but you can open it wide for food, huh? Ethan exclaimed. Of course. Even if it was longer, I could eat it, Grace said proudly. Truly, you can't judge a person by their appearance or a mouth by its size. Ethan praised. They chatted while enjoying the snacks, finishing everything quickly and washing it down with 2 cans of soda. Grace, full and satisfied, leaned back on the bench and patted her stomach. I'm full. Grace, tell me, what should we do after getting full? Ethan leaned in, asking with a wicked grin. What? Grace, what do you want to do? I don't want to do anything. I just want to rest. Well, I want to do something. What? Lie down and rest. With that, Ethan lay down, resting his head directly on her long legs. Really soft and bouncy. Grace blushed and spat. Ethan, why do you always love sleeping on my legs? So shameless. It's comfortable. Ethan played the rogue shamelessly. Grace smiled sweetly. Not only did she let him lie there, but she also gently scratched his head. Ethan, why do you have white hairs? She found a white hair hidden in his hair and gently plucked it out. Maybe I'm a bit tired lately. Ethan yawned, drowsiness hitting him. You, always busy with work, never resting properly. Tang told me you stayed up all night coding too. Grace pouted, her heart aching for him. The 361 software is about to launch. There's a lot to do. Can't help it. Ethan smiled. He had been busy with work lately, running to San Jose for partnerships. It was tiring, and he hadn't rested well in a long time. But seeing his business thriving filled him with a sense of accomplishment. Even doing it all over again, Ethan Ford can still reach the peak. Look how sleepy you are. Sleep for a bit. Grace gently massaged his head, concerned. Okay. Ethan closed his eyes, enjoying the gentle touch of the beauty's fingers. It was very comfortable. After a while, Ethan unknowingly fell asleep, his breathing slowing. The autumn breeze blew gently, rustling the trees and dropping a few dry leaves. Everything was quiet and beautiful. Grace looked at the slight frown on Ethan's forehead and gently smoothed it out with her hand. Ethan seemed to dream of something, the corners of his mouth curling up slightly. She smiled too, a very sweet smile. Ethan is kind of cute when he's asleep. Time passed slowly. Ethan slowly opened his eyes, his head feeling groggy, unsure how long he had slept. He turned his head and saw Grace eating a bag of mini cookies, crunching loudly. You're awake? Did my eating wake you? Grace asked indistinctly. Ethan sat up, rubbed his temples, and smiled. No, I woke up on my own. Grace, have you just been sitting here? Grace rolled her eyes and pouted. You were lying on my legs. Where else could I go? Ouch. Oh no, my legs are numb. Grace's face suddenly changed. Her legs felt completely numb, unable to exert any strength. Probably for being pressed for too long, hindering blood flow. Ethan looked apologetic and quickly reached out to help rub them. Really sorry. I slept too deeply and crushed you for so long. Grace blushed crimson, quickly pulling his hands away awkwardly. I'll do it myself. Being pressed by Ethan's hands felt like an electric shock. Goosebumps rose all over her. Hey, let me help you. Ethan chuckled wickedly, reaching out again. Grace slapped his hand away, her face red as an apple. No, I don't want... Grace, how long did I sleep? Ethan laughed awkwardly and asked. Not long. Less than an hour. Grace glanced at the time on her phone. Ethan let out a long breath. I thought I slept for ages. He had slept so heavily that his head was still a bit foggy. Grace stood up and smiled. Since you've slept enough, let's go for a walk. Let's stroll around the park. Actually, she was thinking about the date operation plan and wanted to suggest a dance club date to Ethan, but she didn't know how to bring it up. How about pretend to wander nearby unknowingly and then casually mention it to Ethan? Yes, that's it. Otherwise, didn't I bring my ID for nothing? Sure, let's walk. A stroll is good. Ethan nodded. They held hands and started strolling through the park. Like other couples in the park, they chatted about everything under the sun, occasionally laughing at something funny. Time like this was relaxed and cozy. No conflicts of interest, no grudges, just peaceful time alone together. After the park, they continued to wander around other parts of the Metro Commercial District. Grace led the way, seeming to have a specific direction in mind. Ethan sensed it and asked in a low voice, Grace, where are you taking me? Nowhere. Just wandering around. Grace quickly masked her expression. But Ethan had sharp eyes and a sharper mind. One look at Grace's expression, and he guessed she was hiding something. Oh, really? I don't believe you. Confess for leniency, resist for severity. Ethan laughed. Grace bit the bullet and argued, no, really not. Just walking around. Come on, let's go. Saying that, she forcefully pulled Ethan's hand in that direction. After a while, they walked up to the entrance of the dance club. Grace first pretended to be surprised. Oh, Ethan, look, there seems to be a dance club here. We've never been to a dance club before. I really want to see what it looks like inside. Ethan twitched his lips. Grace, could you be any more fake? Grace, you dragged me all this way just to go to club? Seeing that she was busted, Grace blushed and laid her cards on the table. Yeah, so what? Are you going or not? Of course I'm going. To be honest, I'm pretty curious too. Ethan laughed. In this era, entertainment venues weren't abundant. Young college students usually entertain themselves by playing ball, basketball, or pool. Those with a bit more money would gather friends for karaoke, but KTV was expensive back then. Ordinary families couldn't afford it, and booking a room was hard. Students with no money liked cyber cafes, $5 an hour, or 10. Saving on food money allowed for a few rounds of StarCraft or Red Alert. As for dance clubs, usually working adults, townies, or office workers went there. Students went less often because the cost wasn't something typical students could bear. Ethan had heard of them, but never been. He was curious too, feeling like if he didn't go, it would be a waste. Right? Ethan, come on, let's go dance. Grace blushed and swung Ethan's hand. Ethan teased. Do you even know how to dance? Grace thought very seriously and replied, Does judo combat dance count? Ethan, that girl's moves are all judo strikes. That counts as dancing. Suddenly, an ominous feeling rose in Ethan's heart. Oh, come on, let's go. Grace pulled him directly to the club entrance. A sign hung above the door, the Metro Club. The lights were on even in broad daylight. Good afternoon to you both. Afternoon session tickets are $8. A middle-aged man in charge of tickets greeted them with a smile. Okay. Ethan bought 2 tickets. After buying tickets, Ethan and Grace held hands and walked through a dim corridor. The dim atmosphere and environment gave a sense of fresh excitement. It felt like coming to a place like this meant doing something shady. Ethan glanced at Grace. This girl brought me here. Is she plotting something against me? Ethan, heart suit. Grace, just say it. Do your worst. I won't resist. Ethan, why is it so dark here? Grace felt very curious, looking around, not scared at all. Darker makes it easier to do things. Ethan chuckled wickedly. Do what things? Grace paused. Hey, you brought me here, why pretend? Don't worry, I get it. Ethan said mysteriously. Grace blushed and pinched the soft flesh at his waist. What are you thinking? Oomph. Chatting and laughing, They reached the end of the corridor where another person checked their tickets and stamped their hands before letting them in. Before even entering, Ethan heard the thumping disco music coming from inside. Boom chick style. Truly nostalgic disco. Passing through a red curtain, an open hall appeared before them. The music was deafening, lights flashing. On the central dance floor, dozens of young men and women were dancing. In the booths on the left and right, groups of middle-aged people were clapping to the beat. To the front left of the dance floor was a simple bar where a dozen 5- or 6-year-old kids were running and chasing each other. Ethan paused. This seems a bit different from what I imagined. It wasn't like the bars or discos in his mind. It was more like a community grand stage. On the dance floor, many young men had slick-back oil hair, wore aviator sunglasses, white shirts or floral shirts, and bell-bottom pants, moving to the music. This trendy getup made Ethan want to laugh and cry. For the current time, they were indeed on the cutting edge of fashion. Wow, Ethan, let's go dance too. Grace excitedly pulled him onto the center of the dance floor, holding his hands and trying to dance like the other couples, swaying left and right, her movements very awkward. Grace, can you dance? Hey, it's so simple. I learned it instantly. Ouch. Grace, you stepped on my foot. Saw the accident, just an accident. Holy crap. You stepped on me again. It's an accident. Next time I'll be careful. Half an hour later, Ethan finally couldn't take it anymore and gave a dry laugh. Grace, how about we take a break? Huh? Resting so soon? Grace asked in surprise. She wasn't even out of breath. If we don't rest, my feet are going to be swollen from your stomping. Ethan rolled his eyes. Just careless, Grace said awkwardly. Ethan, then can you move your foot off mine now? Grace looked down. Her foot was on Ethan's again. She quickly moved it. Accident, all accidents. Young Masterford, you don't think I have no talent for dancing and I'm stupid, do you? Ethan twitched his lips, thinking inwardly. Yes, but on the surface, he comforted her. Don't be discouraged. No one is perfect. It's normal to have things you can't do. Practice more, and maybe you'll get it. Hearing this, Grace couldn't help but smile sweetly. You really know how to comfort people. Let's go sit over there for a bit. They walked to the rest area and ordered 2 colas to relax. Suddenly, Ethan's phone rang. He checked it. It was Wayne Tank Turner. He answered. Hello, Tank, what's up? Ethan, something huge happened. Henry's been stabbed. He's in emergency surgery at Chicago General right now. Hearing this, Ethan felt like he'd been struck by lightning, freezing on the spot. The sudden bad news made his heart plummet into an abyss. What? Henry was stabbed? Yes, I just got the call from the hospital. The doctor said the injuries are severe. He's in surgery now. They confirmed it's knife wounds. Ethan's face went pale instantly, but years of grit helped him calm down quickly. Must be steady. Calm. Don't panic. Tank, let's get to the hospital. Immediately. Also, don't tell Hannah about this yet. If she asks, say her brother is on a business trip. Ethan said in a low voice. Got it. I'm leaving now. Ethan, see you at the hospital. On the other end, Tank hung up immediately. Seeing Ethan's expression change drastically, Grace knew something big had happened. She quickly asked, Ethan, what's wrong? You mentioned Henry. What happened to him? Ethan's face was grim as he stood up. Henry was stabbed and is in the hospital. It's critical. I have to go. Grace, go back to school and wait for me. With that, Ethan turned and sprinted away, rushing out of the dance club. Grace's palms sweated with nervousness. Ethan, please be careful. 10 minutes later, Ethan took a taxi to Chicago General Hospital and rushed straight to the ER. Tank was already waiting at the ER doors. Ethan. Tank stood up to meet him. What's the situation? Ethan asked in a deep voice. The doctor just said his condition is stabilized, but he lost too much blood. He's still in a coma. Tank gritted his teeth furiously. Motherfucker, I don't know which bastard laid such heavy hands on Henry. Don't let me catch them. I want to skin them alive. Tank swore loudly, punching the wall. Ethan's eyes burned with equal rage, but he didn't let anger cloud his judgment like Tank. How much is the surgery fee? Ethan asked calmly. Doctor said it needs about $3,000. Tank replied. Ethan pulled a bank card from his wallet and handed it to him. Go pay first. Then have the hospital arrange the best private room and hire 2 caregivers for Henry. As long as he gets well, money is not a problem. Password is my birthday. Tank took the card, nodded, and ran to pay. Ethan sat on the bench outside the ER waiting. 3 hours later, as the sun set, the ER doors finally opened again. The lead surgeon walked out, seeing Ethan and Tank gather around. Are you Henry Payne's family? Yes. How is he? Ethan asked urgently. The surgeon took off his mask, let out a long breath, and said gravely, "The surgery was successful. The patient is out of danger. Luckily, he was brought in time. Any later, and the blood loss would have been fatal. The patient has a total of 18 stab wounds. 2 hit vital areas, nicking arteries. It was very dangerous." Hearing that Henry had 18 stab wounds, Ethan's mind buzzed, and he went numb. 18 wounds. Henry was slashed 18 times. 18 times. FCK. The fury in Ethan's heart was uncontrollable. He clenched his fist so hard his nails dug into his flesh, drawing blood. Whoever it is, sooner or later, they will pay 100-fold. Ethan always considered Henry a brother. Now that Henry had suffered such a catastrophe, his anger was unspeakable. "Doctor, when will he wake up?" Ethan asked, his voice hoarse. "Earliest, maybe a day. Fortunately, aside from those 2 cuts, the others are superficial and not very deep. That's a blessing in disguise. After waking up, he'll need at least a month of rest." The surgeon replied. Ethan felt slightly relieved. He nodded. "I understand. Thank you so much, doctor. It's my duty. The patient will be transferred to a ward soon. You can visit him there. I have other matters to attend to." Saying this, the surgeon turned to leave. Tank wanted to ask more details, but the doctor had already walked away. "Why is this doctor like that?" "Just leaving," Tank muttered. Ethan turned to Tank. "Tank, go withdraw 1,000 cash. Put it in an envelope and give it to that doctor. Ask him to take good care of Henry." Okay, I get it. I'll do it in a bit." Tank looked enlightened. "Seems like sometimes you still need money to pave the way." At this moment, doctors and nurses pushed Henry out of the ER. The 2 followed them to the private room. Inside, the nurse specifically instructed not to disturb the patient's rest. Ethan and Tank could only stand by the bed, watching Henry, who was pale as paper and hooked up to various tubes. The atmosphere in the room was oppressive. No one spoke. Looking at Henry on the bed, Ethan's heart ached like it was being cut by knives. After a long time, he whispered, "Tank, let's go outside. Let Henry rest." "Yeah, Ethan." Tank gritted his teeth, his chest full of unvented rage. They left the room and sat on the chairs outside. "Where was Henry attacked?" Ethan asked in a low voice. "Doctor said it was at the East Side Mall on University Avenue." Tank replied, taking cigarettes from his pocket, but remembering it was a hospital, he put them back. Ethan thought for a moment and said darkly, "Henry must have run into trouble at the cyber cafe we're renovating. He goes there every day to supervise the progress. Let's go. We need to pull the surveillance footage." Tank asked confusedly, "Ethan, aren't we calling the police first?" "Police? If the police catch them, that will be letting them off too easy." A murderous glint flashed in Ethan's eyes. Tank was shocked. He guessed Ethan's intent. Just as they stood up, 2 police officers walked toward them. "You 2 hold it." 2 police officers walked quickly up to Ethan. The older officer showed a look of surprise on his face. Mr. Ford? Didn't expect to run into you here." "Good to see you, Detective Zimmer," Ethan greeted calmly, his face unreadable. This officer was the same one who had helped handle Sal Higgins' arson case before. Detective Zimmer looked Ethan over and smiled. "Mr. Ford, what a coincidence. My first case after transferring to the University District Precinct involves you." Ethan gave a bitter laugh. "Maybe. I'm just unlucky. Are you here to investigate this case, Detective?" Detective Zimmer nodded. "We received a call about a stabbing at East Side Mall. Blood everywhere. The victim was already sent here. I came over after checking the scene. I've asked the doctor about the injuries. The victim isn't awake, but the investigation continues." "Mr. Ford, what is your relationship to the victim?" "He's an employee of my company. Name's Henry Payne," Ethan replied. Ethan then gave a brief summary of Henry's information. After recording it, Zimmer asked, "Has Henry Payne offended anyone recently? Or have you offended anyone recently?" Ethan thought for a moment, shook his head, and said calmly, "No. Henry doesn't talk much, and he's been busy with work lately, not really interacting with others. I just want to do honest business. In business, harmony brings wealth. I wouldn't easily offend anyone." Besides Zimmer, a young officer named Officer Lewis questioned, "If he didn't offend anyone, would your employee get hacked up for no reason?" Ethan shrugged and replied indifferently, "I don't know either. That's what I hope you 2 officers can find out. Give us justice." Zimmer pondered for a moment, then asked, "I saw the scene is under renovation. There are cameras, but the security room is locked. Can we get the key later to view the surveillance tapes?" Ethan shook his head. "Only Henry has the key. We don't know where he put it. Also, the cafe might have just installed cameras, but hasn't set up the system yet. Anyway, I don't know the specifics. I need to go back to the store to check." If all else fails, we'll have to break the door down. Hearing this, Zimmer gave Ethan a deep look and said, "Then go check, Mr. Ford. If there are surveillance tapes, it would be beneficial for our investigation. I hope you hand them over immediately. You have my number. Contact me anytime." "I know, Detective. If there are other leads, I'll tell you as soon as possible." Ethan nodded. "I'm heading back to check now. Let's keep in touch." With that, Ethan signaled Tank with his eyes, and they took their leave. Watching Ethan's retreating back, Detective Zimmer frowned slightly. Years of police work told his intuition that the young man was hiding something. "Lewis, did you pull them all surveillance?" Officer Lewis paused and replied, "When we arrived, Lee said he went to get it. Probably brings it back to the station soon. Let's go back too. Tell the nurse to have the patient call me as soon as he wakes up," Zimmer instructed. Ethan and Tank arrived at the second floor of P7.My, outside Westford Cyber Cafe. Police tape blocked the entrance, but the officers had finished collecting evidence and left. Inside, it was empty. They ducked under the tape and entered. Inside, tables and chairs were overturned, a mess. Large patches of blood stained the floor. Looking at the scene, it wasn't hard to guess how brutal the attack on Henry had been. It was horrific. Ethan's face grew darker the more he looked. "FCK. Ethan, I want to chop them up." Tank shouted in uncontrollable rage, his eyes red. "Calm down first. Open the security room door," Ethan said, his voice raspy. The security room was a separate cubicle behind the counter, locked. The police hadn't been able to get in. Tank took out a spare key and opened the door. They walked inside. Ethan booted up the computer and expertly accessed the surveillance system, pulling up the footage from the time of the crime. The screen showed 3:00 p.m. Henry walked into the cafe. There were 3 renovation workers inside. A moment later, 5 figures filed into the cafe. 5 men in flashy, mismatched clothes. The leader had dyed yellow hair. They held iron bars and gleaming machetes. These 5 men rushed at Henry the moment they entered, slashing without a word. The 3 workers were so scared they scattered and fled, afraid of collateral damage, running straight out of the cafe. In the main hall, Henry grabbed a wooden board from the floor, fighting back desperately against the 5 men. But even though Henry fought like he didn't care about his life, slamming one man with a board, 2 fists couldn't beat 4 hands, especially when they held machetes. Soon, Henry was hacked to the ground, lying in a pool of blood. The leader with yellow hair didn't let up, hacking Henry's back a few more times before stopping. After cutting Henry down, the 5 men smashed up the cafe before leisurely leaving. A while later, a passerby found Henry lying in blood and rushed him out. Watching the scenes on the monitor, Ethan's eyes were bloodshot, anger erupting like a volcano, his body trembling with rage. Every slash on the screen felt like it was cutting into his heart. "Motherfucker, SHT, I'm going to kill them." Tank punched the desk frantically, wishing he could grab a knife and go hack those people right now. Ethan didn't speak. Instead, he replayed the footage, this time frame by frame, looking for the clearest shot of their faces. Sure enough, a moment later, Ethan recognized 2 familiar faces. "It's actually them." "Ethan, who is it?" Tank leaned his head in. Seeing the faces on the screen, he became even angrier. "FCK, it's those 2 little punks." The 2 people on the screen were the same thugs who had robbed Henry before. Ethan and Tank had caught them and taught them a lesson, and Henry had even stabbed them a few times back then. "Motherfucker, they definitely came for revenge on Henry," Tank said furiously. Ethan said in a low voice, "I'm afraid it's not just simple revenge against Henry. If it was just revenge, they wouldn't have smashed the cafe. And they didn't run after cutting him. They had the peace of mind to smash the place up, and so thoroughly. It looks like our cafe has been targeted." Tank was shocked. "Huh? Ethan, by who?" A cold light flashed in Ethan's eyes. "Whoever it is, first we find these kids. Dare to touch my brother? I will absolutely make them pay a more painful price." "Ethan, how do we drag these little punks out?" Tank asked in a low voice. Ethan thought for a moment. "Last time I had dinner with Neil, he mentioned knowing some people in the underground. In business, whether white or black, you have to make contact. Business isn't black or white. It walks the gray. You need connections everywhere. Tomorrow morning, I'll contact Neil and ask him to introduce some connections. These guys act so boldly. They must have someone backing them. Only by finding out where they used to run, or who's behind them, can we find them. Although I'm not absolutely certain, I must do this." Tank nodded, then looked down at the surveillance system. "Then Ethan, this surveillance disc." Ethan said calmly, "Keep it for now. If we can't solve in 3 days, give it to Detective Zimmer." "Right, understood." Tank nodded solemnly. Ethan took out a cigarette and handed one to Tank. Tank, do you know why I wanted to bring you out to work? Tank scratched his head, smiling simply. We're brothers. Ethan looked at him, blew out a smoke ring, and said hoarsely, yeah, we are brothers. Henry is too. Now Henry is lying in a hospital bed. If I don't avenge him, who will? This debt must be paid. Night. The Royal KTV, Emperor's Suite. A dozen young men were drinking, playing finger-guessing games, and smoking. The room was thick with smoke. Huh. Come on, Buzz, drink up. A blonde with a gold chain raised his glass. When he opened his mouth, he revealed 2 gold front teeth. Buzz quickly stood up to toast, smiling. Hey, Goldie, I toast to you. You really let me vent my anger today. Damn it, that kid stabbed me last time. My leg still hurts. Goldie laughed. Huh, it was convenient. I was doing a job for Mr. Cross anyway. Ran into that kid, his bad luck. Goldie, you're like my real brother. You were so awesome today. From now on, you say east. I won't go west. Buzz flattered him, refilling his glass. Next to them, a youth wearing ripped bell-bottoms asked, Goldie, we didn't kill that kid, did we? He was a bit worried about a murder charge and police warrants. Scared of what? With Mr. Cross covering U.S., don't panic. Worst case, we spent some money to find a fall guy. It's not the first time. Ain't I living fine right now? Huh. Goldie waved his hand dismissively. Nowadays, you could find plenty of people willing to take the fall for money. Go in for a few years, maybe 10, get paid more than 10 grand. Spend some money to shorten the sentence, and you're out. Working a regular job, you couldn't make $1,000 a year. Sitting in prison once earned more than a lifetime of work. Yes, Sledge, why panic? Mr. Cross has huge influence. He can cover us. Buzz laughed confidently. Hee, that's good, that's good. From now on, we follow Mr. Cross and Goldie. Sledge giggled. At this moment, the suite door opened. A middle-aged man wearing a black jacket and glasses walked in, followed by 2 burly men. Seeing the arrival, Goldie hurriedly stood up to welcome him, shouting happily, Hey, Mr. Cross. Good evening, Mr. Cross. The other youths quickly stood up to greet him too. Good evening, Mr. Cross. Buzz looked at Damien Cross with admiration. This man had a lot of pull in the University Avenue area. Damien Cross, boss of Maxim Inc. Maxim was mainly a private lending company, loan sharking, and secondly, ran cyber cafes, owning 2 around University Avenue. The cash flow from the cafes was poured into loans. In the last 2 years, they had made a fortune. Hee, having fun? Carry on. I need a word with Goldie. Damien adjusted his glasses, smiling amiably at the group. Goldie rejoiced inwardly, guessing he did a good job and the boss was here to reward him. Hey, Mr. Cross, you could have just called. No need to come all this way. Goldie sucked up. Damien grunted and waved his hand, signaling him to step out. In the lounge area outside the suite, Damien stood with his hands behind his back, looking at the neon lights overhead. Goldie looked too, but saw nothing special. Mr. Cross, what are your orders? Damien turned around, staring at him, and asked calmly, I told you to smash the cyber cafe. What else did you do? Nothing much. Just help 2 brothers teach a blind kid a lesson. Goldie paused, replying honestly. Damien's eyes revealed a fierce light. He glared at him and raised his hand to slap him. Slap. The slap landed solidly on Goldie's face, making him dizzy. FCK. Teach a lesson? You almost hacked him to death. If someone hadn't tipped me off, were you planning to hide it from me? Damien grabbed his collar, his face ferocious. Goldie was stunned by the slap. It took him a while to recover. And Mr. Cross, I thought it wasn't urgent, so I wanted to tell you a bit later. Damien shoved him away, glaring and shouting. SHD, your wings are hard now, huh? Daring to act on your own, behind my back. Do you know the police are already investigating this case? Do you use your brain at all? SHD, does your brain hold anything besides women's tits? You touched someone inside a mall, in broad daylight. Do you have a pig's brain? Huh. Speaking of this, Damien got furious and smacked Goldie's head repeatedly while cursing. Goldie could only curl up in the chair, covering his head with his hands, letting Damien hit him. After a few minutes, Damien had vented enough and stopped. How many people did you take to slash him? Goldie, hands still covering his head, replied weakly, took 3 brothers plus those 2 little ones. Damien glared at him sideways. FCK, a bunch of pig brains. Don't play tonight. You lot. Stay honestly in the company housing for a while. Lay low. Goldie's face fell, but he agreed honestly. Yes, Mr. Cross. I'll take them back later. But Mr. Cross, I think it shouldn't be a big deal, right? That kid used to be a trash picker. Even if he got a job, we shouldn't be afraid. Should be. Okay, right? Damien poked his forehead. Are you a dumb pig? If the cops find you, doesn't it implicate me? Whatever you say, just stay put for me. SHT. Early the next morning, Ethan called in sick with the instructor and went straight to find Neil Powers. At the tech tower, inside Neil Powers' office. Ethan walked in carrying 2 boxes of expensive private reserve coffee beans, seeing Neil already brewing a fresh pot of coffee and waiting. Haha, good morning, Neil. Sorry to bother you so early. Ethan laughed loudly, walking over. Neil stood up to welcome him. No bother at all. I was free today anyway. I'm happy you could come keep me company for coffee. And really, you bring gifts every time. You're treating me like a stranger. Ethan chuckled. These are private reserve Blue Mountain beans. Are you sure you don't want them? Holy crap, you can get these? If you're giving, I'm taking. I won't be polite then. Neil stopped standing on ceremony and took the gift. Ethan sat down on his left, took out a cigarette, offered one to Neil, and lit it for him. Neil saw this, smiled knowingly, and asked, Ethan, you called me last night and came to find me first thing this morning. Must be something, right? I'm guessing not a small thing. Ethan wasn't in the mood for small talk. He lit his own cigarette, took a deep drag, blew out his smoke ring, and said gravely, There is something. I need your help, Neil. You remember my brother at the company, Henry Payne? Neil nodded. Remember him. The quiet young guy. Looked solid. What about him? Ethan's voice was low. He was stabbed yesterday afternoon. Heavy injuries. He's still in a coma. Neil was shocked, hearing the extreme anger in Ethan's voice. How did this happen? Ethan then gave Neil a rough outline of the events. After listening, Neil slammed the table in rage. Outrageous. These people are incredibly bold, hacking people in broad daylight. Despicable. Suddenly, he paused, realizing Ethan hadn't gone to the police but came to him instead. A chilling thought arose in his mind. Does Ethan plan to solve this himself? Ethan, what do you want to do? If you need help, just ask. Ethan felt grateful. Neil truly treated him as a good friend. He really helped when needed. Last time you mentioned you knew some friends in the Chicago underground. I want to check the background of those people, and then, if it costs money, money isn't a problem. If 100,000 isn't enough, I can pay 200, 300. At the end, Ethan narrowed his eyes, a cold light flashing. I just want their lives. For Ethan, if he didn't take these people out, they might attack Henry or even him again. Once there's a first time, there's a second. If you don't solve the problem at the root, you have to solve the people causing the problem. It was the year 2000. The world was still chaotic. A life and death feud was set. It had to be a fight to the death. This grudge had no solution. It couldn't be untied. Ethan had walked the gray path plenty in the past. He wasn't unfamiliar with these things. Sometimes, to be ruthless was to be safe. If you're soft, you get bullied. If a horse is tame, it gets ridden. If word got out, anyone would dare to step on him and target the people around him. Seeing the look in his eyes, Neil felt a chill. Ethan is really fired up. But those who dare provoke Ethan probably won't have a good end. I do know some. There is one person who might be able to help you. But asking him to come out, it does cost quite a bit. Neil pondered. Oh, who? Ethan asked. Victor Vane. The Reaper. Neil lowered his voice. Ethan was startled hearing the name. He had heard legends of Victor Vane before, but only through word of mouth. He had never seen the man himself. Legend had it Victor Vane had a third eye. If the third eye opened, someone had to die. In '96, it was heard he chased 12 people down Spring Street alone and came out unscathed while 7 or 8 of them were cut down. Some said he looked fierce, like a living Grim Reaper. Over time, Victor Vane got the nickname the Reaper. Ethan felt such outrageous legends were mostly exaggerated, but if even he had heard them, Vane's reputation in the underworld must be loud. You know him? Ethan asked in surprise. I was drinking with friends at a bar he owns. Some drunks were looking for trouble with us. Later, Victor Vane personally came out. Those punks had their legs broken by him on the spot and were thrown out. After that, I often took friends to his bar to spend money. Met him a few times, got acquainted, had a meal at his house later. We have a relationship, but not deep. Neil smiled. If we ask him for help, finding out where those guys come from shouldn't be hard. Although he doesn't fight and kill anymore, he has many brothers watching bars. They know the streets of Chicago. But to move him to help, it'll probably cost a lot and depends on his mood. Neil continued. Ethan said darkly, money is not a problem. Seeing Ethan's determination, Neil realized this had to be done. Wait a moment. I'll give him a call, see if he's free. If he is, we can talk to him face to face. Hopefully, my VIP status still holds some weight in his eyes. Neil smiled bitterly. He wasn't very confident. Saying that, he got up to make the call. A moment later, Ethan saw a look of joy on his face and relaxed slightly. Haha, Ethan, he's free now. If we want to see him, we have to go to his house. Neil said happily, suddenly feeling he had gained face in front of Ethan. Good. No time to lose. Let's go now. Ethan stood up, not want to drag this out lest things change. Okay, I'll take you there. I know where he lives. Neil grabbed his jacket and bag. Before leaving, Ethan asked, how many people in Vane's house? Just 4. His family of 4, plus a nanny. His old father lives there too. His kid seems to be only 4 or 5. What? Neil asked, stunned. Buying gifts, of course. Can't go empty-handed, right? Ethan shook his head and laughed. Neil slapped his forehead, realizing, oh, right. We need to buy something. They left the office together. Ethan's expression was grave along the way. His mind was already calculating how to deal with such a figure. Although Ethan had dealt with underworld figures plenty in his past life, they actually valued profit more than businessmen did. This was the first time dealing with a legend. But no matter what, he had to do it. This grudge, this feud, needed an ending. Restoring the dinner conversation and street scene description, and the consistency error in regarding the beverages. Here are the complete corrected chapters. The noon sun beat down on the pavement of Golden Bay Estates. Neil Powers drove his car up to the entrance, Ethan Ford sitting in the passenger seat. The community was gated, with 2 uniformed security guards manning the booth, a sign of strict security. Ethan wasn't surprised that Victor the Reaper Vane lived in a place like this. Golden Bay was one of the few truly high-end residential compounds in the city, home to not just wealthy businessmen, but also high-ranking officials. Living here was far safer than any standalone villa in the suburbs. We're here, Ethan, Neil said with a smile as he killed the engine. Ethan nodded, grabbing a large gift bag from the back seat. They approached the gate. The guards called the residents to confirm their identity before buzzing them through. A few minutes later, they stood at the front door of a lavish townhouse. Neil rang the doorbell. Moments later, the door was opened by a striking woman with cascading wavy hair and a fitted blouse that accentuated her figure. Afternoon, Sarah, Neil greeted with a slight bow. Good afternoon, ma'am, Ethan added with a polite smile, following Neil's lead but keeping a respectful distance. He knew the rules. When dealing with powerful figures, never feign familiarity. It was a fatal mistake. The woman scanned them briefly before smiling. Neil, come on in. Victor is waiting for you in the study. Great, thanks, Sarah. Neil beamed, his smile practically plastered on his face. Once inside, Ethan handed the gift bag to her. Ma'am, this is my first time visiting. Just a small token of appreciation. I hope you'll accept it. Sarah peeked into the bag and spotted the unmistakable blue box of high-end jewelry. A substantial gift for a first visit. This young man clearly wasn't short on cash, and he definitely wanted something important from her husband. Thoughts raced through her mind, but she maintained her composure, taking the bag with a gracious smile. You're too kind. It's my pleasure, Ethan replied smoothly. Grandpa, come catch me. Suddenly, a little boy about 5 years old dashed into the living room. Whoa, Timmy, wait for Grandpa. An elderly man dressed in a traditional cardigan and slacks chased after him. The old man entered the living room and froze when he saw Ethan. Ethan was equally stunned. It was the grandfather and grandson from the park, the boy Ethan had saved from drowning in the lake. It really was a small world. My heavens, it's you, young man, our savior, the old man shouted, his face lighting up with surprise and joy. He rushed over to Ethan, grabbing his hand and shaking it vigorously. Neil looked on, completely bewildered. How did Ethan know Victor Vane's father? Sarah was also surprised, but quickly pieced it together. Dad, is this the young man who saved Timmy? Yes. If it weren't for him, Timmy wouldn't be here today. The old man turned to Sarah. Sarah, hurry up and get our guest some coffee. The good stuff. Right away, Sarah replied. Her gaze toward Ethan softened instantly, filled with genuine warmth as she hurried to the kitchen. Ethan sat down with the old man, engaging in eager conversation. This was an unexpected stroke of luck. With this connection, building a relationship with Victor Vane would be much smoother. Good deeds, it seemed, really did pay off. Just then, a muscular middle-aged man walked out of the study. He had a buzz cut and a deep tan, looking like he had just stepped out of a military compound. But the hidden ferocity in his eyes told a different story. This was a man you didn't cross. Hey, Victor. Neil stood up to greet him. This was him. Victor the Reaper Vane. Victor chuckled. Neil, you're here. Almost lunchtime. Stay and eat. He then turned his gaze to Ethan, squinting slightly as he sized him up. And this is Mr. Vane. I'm Ethan Fort. It's an honor to meet you, Ethan said, standing up and extending his hand with a confident smile. He couldn't be as casual as Neil. That would seem presumptuous. But he also needed to maintain a balance, respectful, yet not servile. In business, you walk the gray line. You made connections in the light and the dark, but you never stood too close to the edge. Victor smiled and shook his hand, signaling a basic level of goodwill. The old man stood up and glared at his son. I told you to find our benefactor, and you couldn't find him for weeks. If he hadn't walked through that door today, you'd still be clueless. Victor paused, looking at Ethan with genuine surprise. Wait, you're the one who saved my son. That was you? Thank you. Seriously, thank you. Victor grabbed Ethan's hand with both of his demeanor shifting from polite to passionate. It was the right thing to do. Anyone would have done the same. I just happened to be there, Ethan said humbly. Victor's eyes gleamed with appreciation. Haha, today calls for a drink. I haven't properly thanked you yet. Victor laughed loudly. To share a drink with you, Victor, would be my pleasure, Ethan said, changing his address to a more personal one, seizing the opportunity. It's all thanks to Neil that we met today. Fate has a funny way of working out. Sounds like you and Victor were meant to cross paths. Neil laughed, happy to take a bit of credit. Victor knew they were here for a reason. Dinner isn't ready yet. Let's go to the study and have some coffee first. He led them into a room that smelled of old paper and tobacco. The study was decorated with classic taste, calligraphy on the walls, and a massive, carved coffee table made of dark, ancient wood. On it sat a coffee service set that looked like it cost more than a starter home. They sat down, Victor at the head. Ethan pulled out a pack of parliaments, offering one to Neil, then Victor, before lighting Victor's with a gold lighter. Victor took a drag, tapping Ethan's hand lightly in thanks. So, Neil tells me you're a big boss. Young guy like you running a company. What line of work are you in? I wouldn't call myself a big boss, especially not in front of you, Victor. Just trying to make a living selling computers, doing a bit of internet business, Ethan replied modestly. Internet, huh? I don't understand it, but new tech is where the money is. Takes guts to dive into that at your age, Victor praised. Compared to what you've built, it's nothing, Ethan laughed. After 3 rounds of coffee and small talk, Neil broke the ice. Victor, to be honest, we came today because we have a favor to ask. Oh, what is it? Speak up, Victor said, leaning back. He didn't promise anything yet. I'll explain, Ethan cut in, offering Victor another cigarette. It's like this. Ethan recounted the attack on Henry Payne in detail, then placed the sketches of the 5 attackers on the table. Victor glanced at the drawings and chuckled darkly. You want to find these 5? Yes. My brother's blood calls for an answer, Ethan said, his voice dropping an octave. Do you recognize them? Victor thought for a moment. Not all of them, but this one I know. He runs with Damien Cross. Ethan's heart leaped, knowing the target was half the battle. Thanks, Victor, Ethan said. Then, looking him in the eye, he added, I'm going to need your help with the rest of this. He didn't mention the child. He didn't use the life debt as leverage. Smart men didn't need to say the obvious. Victor lit his cigarette, blew a smoke ring, and looked at Ethan. Ethan, I don't like owing favors. Neil knows that. You saved my son's life. I owe you one. This matter. I'll handle it for you. Hearing Victor Vane promise his help, a flicker of relief passed through Ethan's eyes. With the Reaper involved, the scales had just tipped heavily in his favor. Thank you, Victor. Victor chuckled softly. I'm a simple man. I repay kindness with kindness, and vengeance with vengeance. You saved my son's life. This is nothing. Besides, Damien Cross sending people to hack up your brother. That doesn't sit right with the code. Helping you is just enforcing the rules. Hearing Victor speak so seriously about the code shifted Ethan's perspective on these underworld figures. Not all of them were purely profit-driven psychopaths. Some, perhaps very few, still held onto a twisted kind of honor. I told you Victor was a man of principle. Neil chimed in, flattering him at the right moment. Victor blew another smoke ring. In this life, the code is all you have. If you don't respect it, your men won't either. A man has to have some beliefs he sticks to. Ethan's respect for the man grew. Victor Vane wasn't just a thug. There was a certain righteousness, a dark chivalry about him. That makes a lot of sense, Ethan agreed. All right, Ethan. I'll give Damien Cross a call right now. Let's ask him if touching your brother was his idea, Victor said, pulling out his phone. The call connected quickly. Victor, to what do I owe the honor of a call from the boss himself? Damien Cross's sycophantic laughter boomed through the receiver. Victor's smile vanished. His voice went flat. Damien, I heard your boys were busy yesterday afternoon. Busy? Doing what? Damien played dumb, though his heart skipped a beat. He knew exactly why Victor was calling. Cut the crap, Damien. Your boy Goldie took a crew and chopped up one of my friend's people. You think I don't know? Victor's voice dropped lower, carrying a heavy, oppressive weight. Did you order the hit? On the other end, sweat beaded on Damien's forehead. Victor, I swear I didn't. Goldie went out? I had no idea. Who did they hit? Do I know him? Damien knew Victor's reputation in the city. He couldn't afford to provoke the Reaper. He had to deny everything. I'll pretend I believe you didn't know, Victor sneered. But this needs a resolution. Hand over the men who did it. You know the rules. If you don't want to follow the rules, I can come over and help you remember them, Victor added, turning the screw. Right. I understand. I'll find Goldie immediately, figure out what happened. Victor, I know the rules. Once I have them, I'll set up a table immediately. Damien stammered. I want results today. My patience is thin, Victor said coldly. Don't try to play games. If those men disappear, you'll be the one answering to my friend. Yes, of course. Victor hung up. Meanwhile, in the CEO's office at Maximic, Damien Cross listened to the dial tone, his face darkening into a mask of rage. Damn it, Goldie is nothing but trouble. He actually managed to piss off Victor Vane. Son of a... This was bad. Victor Vane wasn't just a name. He was a brand of violence in the city. He had legitimate businesses, but his crews were legendary. Crossing him was like hugging a landmine. Goldie, that idiot, said the kid had no background. Just some trash picker. How the hell was he one of Victor's people? For Victor to call personally and with that tone. This wasn't going to be cheap to fix. Damien slammed his phone onto the desk. Could it be that Westford Electronics had the connection? If so, what was the relationship between their boss and Victor? He sat in his leather chair, fuming. After a moment, he grabbed the landline. Get Goldie and those 4 idiots in here. Now, he hung up, smashing the receiver down. He couldn't afford to fight Victor right now. He'd have to swallow this loss. Meanwhile, in the dorms at Maximic. Pair of kings. Take that. Holy crap. Goldie wins again. You're on fire today, Goldie. On a messy bed, 5 men sat in a circle, playing card for cash. What are you waiting for? Pay up. Goldie laughed, raking in the bills. Buzz and the others grumbled as they dug into their pockets. Suddenly, the door flew open. Goldie, boss wants you in the office, a tattooed man shouted from the doorway. Goldie's face lit up. Had the boss smoothed things over? Was he getting a bonus? Maybe they could finally go out and celebrate. Awesome. That afternoon, Goldie, Buzz, and the other 3 thugs strutted through the halls of Maxim, Inc. toward the CEO's office. Hey, Goldie, you think Mr. Cross fixed everything? Buzz asked. Is that even a question? In this town, there's nothing Damien Cross can't fix. Goldie grinned, arrogant as ever. Stick with me, boys. As long as we're doing jobs for Mr. Cross, we'll be living the high life. We're with you all the way, Goldie. Buzz sucked up. Goldie patted Buzz on the shoulder. Once the heat dies down, I'm taking you all to the club. Drinks on me. They reached the office door. Goldie knocked loudly. Boss, we're here. Come in, came Damien's low voice. Goldie pushed the door open, beaming. Afternoon, boss. You got a job for us. The 5 of them lined up in front of Damien's desk, looking respectful but smug. Damien leaned back in his chair, smoking a cigar. He stared at Goldie. Goldie, let me ask you again. That guy you chopped up, you're sure you don't know who he is? Goldie paused, confused. Why ask again? I'm sure, boss. He's just a former garbage picker. Heard he got a job at some place called Westford. Buzz saw him working at that internet cafe, so I just took care of it, Goldie explained again. Damien scoffed. He didn't believe it anymore. A garbage picker, who could get Victor Vane to make a personal call? But regardless of the truth, he had to give Victor an answer. Damien blew a smoke ring and beckoned Goldie over. Goldie, wearing his best sycophantic smile, hurried forward. Yes, boss. Suddenly, Damien reached out, grabbed a handful of Goldie's hair, and slammed his face into the solid oak desk. Thud, thud, thud. 3 vicious slams. Blood splattered across the polished wood. The other 4 froze, terrified. Why was the boss attacking Goldie? Damien shoved Goldie back. The thug crumbled to the floor, dazed, blood pouring from his nose and forehead. At that moment, the office door opened, and 8 large men in black suits marched in. Boss. Damien wiped the blood from his hand with a tissue, his expression calm. Tie them all up. Yes, sir. The suits moved instantly, securing the 5 confused thugs with zip ties. Boss? What are you doing? Buzz stammered, panic rising in his chest. Damien spat on the floor, his face twisting into a scowl. You have the nerve to ask me? You idiots chopped the wrong person. Buzz and the others were bewildered. How was Henry Payne the wrong person? He was nobody. Goldie, regaining some consciousness, groaned, Boss. What? He had followed Damien for 6 years. He'd broken legs for him, collected debts for him. How could Damien turn on him like this? Damien walked over, grabbed Goldie by the hair again, and hissed, "Do you know whose man you touched? It was Victor Vane's people, and now he wants you. What do you think I should do?" Hearing the name, Victor Vane, Goldie's mind went blank. It was like being struck by lightning. "The Reaper? Boss, save me, please," Goldie begged, snot and tears mixing with the blood on his face. He knew Victor's reputation. If he was handed over, he was dead. "I warned you not to go rogue," Damien said coldly. "I told you to follow orders. But no, you had to act tough. Now, you're on your own. Take him away." Damien waved his hand. The suits dragged the screaming men out. "Boss, I served you. I have merit. Save me," Goldie screamed as he was hauled down the hallway. Damien didn't even look up. To keep Goldie meant war with Victor Vane. There was no profit in that. Goldie was a pawn, and today, he was being sacrificed. Damien finished his cigar and dialed Victor's number. "Hey, Victor, I got to the bottom of it. Tonight, 8 p.m., the Onyx Room, VIP Suite 1. I'm setting a table for you and your friend from Westford. Yeah, I've got the 5 punks. See you there." 8 p.m., the Onyx Room. 5 black sedans pulled up to the entrance. Ethan stepped out, his face grim. "Henry, tonight, I get justice for you. Shall we, Ethan?" Victor smiled, gesturing toward the door. "After you, Victor." They walked in side by side, flanked by 6 burly men in white shirts. They were with slick back hair and glasses, looking deceptively friendly. Seeing Victor, the man stood up immediately, piling on a smile. "Huh, Victor, long time no see. Welcome." Damien extended his hand. Victor didn't take it. He just stared at him coldly. Damien laughed awkwardly and retracted his hand. "Please sit." "Damien, today isn't about me. You're talking to my friend here," Victor said, pulling out a cigarette and lighting it himself. Damien finally looked at the young man standing next to Victor. He looked like a college student, clean-cut, maybe 20 years old. Hello. And how should I address you, young brother?" Damien offered a cigarette to Ethan since Victor had ignored him. Ethan stared at him, making no move to take the cigarette. "Ethan Ford." Damien's eyes flashed with annoyance. Victor disrespecting him was one thing, but who was this kid to refuse his tobacco? But knowing Victor was the muscle behind the kid, Damien withdrew the cigarette and forced a smile. "Mr. Ford, pleasure. Please sit." Ethan didn't respond. He just sat down next to Victor. Victor noted the interaction with approval. The kid had a spine. Standing his ground in front of a shark like Damien Cross took guts. Everyone sat. Voiter sporetea. Smoke filled the room. Victor broke the silence. "Damien, my friend's brother was hacked into a coma by your men. He's still in the hospital. We need an explanation. I know the history. Your people started it. This time they went too far. Your boys are pretty wild, aren't they?" Victor's eyes narrowed into slits as he stared Damien down. No, Victor, I swear I didn't know. I was wrong." Damien defended himself quickly. "I didn't order this. I don't know Mr. Ford. I have no grudge against him. Why would I do that? That's why I set this table tonight, to give Mr. Ford a proper explanation." Victor looked at Ethan. Ethan nodded. "Where are the men who did it?" Ethan asked calmly. "Bring those little bastards in." Damien shouted. Goldie, Buzz, and the other 3 were dragged in by the suits. They were already bruised and battered. "You idiots. You never give me a moment's peace." Damien yelled. "Apologize to Mr. Ford. Now." Bound and kneeling, Goldie and Buzz slammed their heads against the floor. Sorry, Mr. Ford. We're sorry." Damien turned to Ethan seriously. "Look, brother, I already beat them within an inch of their lives. Victor is here as a witness. I want to make this right. I'll cover all medical expenses, plus I'll give you $75,000 as compensation. How's that sound?" 75 grand was a fortune to most people in 2000. Damien figured money solved everything. Damien stared at Ethan. Victor watched too, curious to see how Ethan would handle it. Ethan blew a plume of smoke and let out a cold laugh. "Mr. Cross, is that your idea of an explanation? Do you think I'm easy to fool, or do you just think I'm stupid?" The temperature in the room plummeted. Damien's smile froze. After a moment, Damien suppressed his anger. "Then what do you suggest, Mr. Ford?" Ethan flicked the ash from a cigarette and stood up. His voice was steady, devoid of emotion. "These 5 men, 36 cuts each. Hiss." Everyone in the room drew a sharp breath. 36 cuts. That was a death sentence, or close to it. It was brutal, vicious. Damien's eyes widened. He hadn't expected this kid to be so bloodthirsty. Victor raised an eyebrow, surprised, but then he understood. It wasn't just revenge, it was a message. to destroy the threat completely, physically and psychologically. In their world, if you weren't ruthless, you didn't survive. Victor looked at Ethan with admiration. This was a man who could do big things. Damien's face darkened. Mr. Ford, leave a bridge so we can cross it later. Isn't that a bit too harsh? Ethan stared back, refusing to blink. Did they think about being harsh when they were hacking my friend apart? If someone hadn't found him, he would be dead. What do you say to that? Damien was speechless. He looked at Victor for help. Victor, this. Victor smiled lazily. Damien, don't look at me. Discuss it with my friend. Damien gritted his teeth. Victor was backing the kid all the way. He had no leverage. Goldie was a lost cause. Can we reduce the number? Damien tried one last time. Ethan shook his head. No. Damien clenched his jaw. Fine, we do it your way. Goldie and the others turned pale. Terror flooded their eyes. No, boss, please, Goldie screamed. He turned to Ethan, slamming his head on the floor. Mr. Ford, I was wrong. I won't do it again. Please spare me. They wailed and begged. Ethan walked over to Goldie, squatted down, and grabbed him by the collar. His eyes were cold. It's too late for regrets. Slap. Ethan backhanded him across the face, so hard a tooth flew out. Every time Ethan thought of Henry lying in that pool of blood, rage boiled in his chest. He stood up, wiped his hand, and turned to Victor. Victor, could I ask your men to handle this? Victor shrugged, smiling. My pleasure. Camel, take care of it. You got it, boss. I'll keep count. Camel, the gaunt man in the white shirt, grinned maliciously. He took a machete from one of the guards. Dragged them out. Goldie and the others were hauled into the adjoining room. Moments later, screams erupted from next door. Agonizing, inhuman shrieks that made the skin crawl. Damien's men looked pale, eyeing Ethan with fear. This kid was not to be messed with. Ethan sat back down, smoking his cigarette calmly, sipping his tea. Damien looked like he had swallowed a fly, but he stayed silent. The suite was quiet, save for the rhythmic screams from the other room. Victor handed Ethan a cigarette, a special blend, a sign of respect. Try one of these. Private Reserve. Thanks, Ethan said. You handle that well, Ethan, Victor said softly. Come by my club sometime for a drink. Will do, Victor. 15 minutes later, the door opened. Camel walked in, his white shirt splattered with red. The blade in his hand dripped. Ethan, boss. It's done. Not a cut less, Camel said, wiping blood from his cheek. Good work. Go get changed, Victor said, standing up. He looked at Damien. Damien, I hope this doesn't happen again. Bad for business. Of course, Victor. I'll keep a tighter leash on my dogs. Damien forced a laugh. Victor and Ethan walked out together. As they passed the open door of the adjacent room, Ethan glanced inside. 5 bodies lay in pools of blood, unmoving. It looked like a slaughterhouse. Ethan felt nothing. In this world, you had to be hard. Midnight, Golden Bay Estates. Ethan and Victor walked through the garden, smoking. Ethan, do you know what I would have thought if you accepted Damien's money? Victor asked. What? I would have looked down on you. Forever. Victor said simply. Money is important, but it can't buy loyalty and it can't buy justice. You saved my son. I repaid a debt. But what you did tonight, that was for your brother. People call me a gangster, but I have lines I don't cross. I don't deal in drugs. I run clean clubs. I donate to schools. If I were a legitimate businessman, I'd be a pillar of the community. But I'm sitting in this seat, and in this seat, wolves are always circling. If you don't sharpen your teeth, you get eaten. I've lost 7 brothers over the years. I'm tired of the violence, but thousands of families rely on me to eat. I don't have a choice. Victor sounded melancholy, perhaps revealing a side of himself he rarely showed. You're right, Victor. No one is purely good or evil, Ethan said. Victor laughed, clapping Ethan on the shoulder. You get it. That's rare. Just then, a luxury Mercedes rolled past them. Victor pointed at the drunk, fat man in the back seat. See him? By day, he's a judge. Represents justice. But he keeps 2 mistresses. High school girls. Underage. Absurd world, right? That's reality. Ethan nodded. He'd seen enough in his past life to know Victor was right. All right, it's late. I won't keep you with fake politeness. I consider you a friend, Ethan. Treat me as one, Victor said. Of course, Victor, Ethan smiled. He would be a friend, but he would never be a brother. That was Ethan's line. 3 days later, the athletic fields of Illinois Tech baked under the sun. Freshman classes stood in formation, sweating through their orientation drills. Left face. At ease. Sergeant Jones barked. 10-minute break. Hydrate. Then we go again. Dismissed. The students of computer science class 1 cheered and collapsed. Jason York flopped onto the grass. I'm dying. My beautiful complexion is ruined. I won't be handsome anymore. Ethan, you bought 2 waters? Give me one, I'm parched. Ethan tossed him a bottle. Here. Thanks. Hey, is the other one for the missus? Jason grinned, uncapping the water. Obviously. Don't even think about it. Ethan laughed. Jason gulped down the water, then pointed. Speak of the devil. Grace Miller was jogging toward them across the field. The other guys stared. Grace, the new campus queen, looked stunning even in fatigues, her ponytail bouncing as she ran. Ethan. Grace launched herself into Ethan's arms, right there in front of everyone. Crack. The sound of 100 hearts breaking. Behind a tree, Ryan Yates watched, biting his fist. No, my goddess. Why am... He punched the tree. Ow, damn it. Ethan rubbed Grace's head. Grace, everyone is watching. If you don't mind, I don't mind. Huh. Grace looked around, realized the audience, and turned beet red. She quickly let go. Ethan, let's go over there. To the woods. Whoa, Ethan. The woods. Jason gasped. In 10 minutes? You that fast? Ethan shot him a glare. Get your mind out of the gutter. He led Grace to a small grove of trees near the edge of the field. Thirsty? Here. Ethan held out the water. Grace reached for it, but Ethan pulled it back. Oops, forgot I'm thirsty too. He took a big swig, licking his lips. Ah, refreshing. Ethan, you did that on purpose. Grace stomped her foot. Here, your turn. Grace took the bottle, blushing at the indirect kiss. As she went to open it, Ethan grabbed her hand. Don't move. There's a spider on your head. What? A spider? Grace froze, her eyes widening. She reached up to touch her hair. No, don't touch it. You might knock it down your shirt. Ethan said seriously. Okay, I won't move. Grace stood stiff as a board. Just hold still. Ethan stepped closer, leaning in slowly. Then he kissed her. MMPH. Grace's eyes popped open. Her face turned the color of a ripe apple. She'd been tricked. Again. Ethan pulled back, licking his lips. Sweet. Ethan Ford. You liar. Grace lunged to pinch him, but Ethan dodged. They chased each other through the trees, Grace's laughter ringing through the grove. Eventually, they sat on a bench, catching their breath. Still mad, Ethan teased. I'll buy you 2 rocket pops later. Grace grabbed him in a headlock. Trying to bribe me? Surrender. I surrender. I surrender to the world's gentlest, most broad-minded girl. Oof. That's better. Grace let him go. So how is Henry? Is he better? Ethan's smile faded slightly. I see him every day. He's much better. Eating solid food now. Doctor says another month before he's discharged. Who did this to him, Ethan? You never tell me anything, Grace asked, concern in her eyes. Some things you don't need to know. It's better that way, Ethan said, smoothing her hair. He wanted to keep her world bright. Fina, but take me with you this afternoon. I want to bring him flowers. That afternoon, Ethan and Grace visited the hospital. Weighing Tank, Turner was already there, mashing a banana for Henry. Ethan, Grace. Henry smiled, looking much livelier. Don't get up, Ethan said. You take care of yourself, Henry. Next time, learn some self-defense. Grace scolded gently as she arranged the flowers. I will, sister-in-law, Henry promised. Ethan held Henry's hand. Rest easy. I handled everything. The problem is solved. Hannah is fine. Tiff and Britt are watching her. I told her you're on a business trip. Henry's eyes welled up. Thanks, Ethan. He knew what handle meant. Suddenly, the door opened. Detective Zimmer walked in, followed by Officer Lewis. Well, Mr. Ford, fancy meeting you here, Zimmer said, raising an eyebrow. Just visiting a sick friend, Detective. Ethan smiled politely. Right. I'm here to confirm the suspects with Mr. Payne. Zimmer pulled 5 photos from his bag, mugshots of Goldie and the others, looking destroyed. Are these the men? Zimmer asked Henry. Henry nodded. Yes. Did you catch them? Zimmer looked at Ethan with a strange expression. Oh, we caught them. Or rather, someone found them. There. In bad shape. 36 cuts each. Exact count. Zimmer stared at Ethan. Mr. Ford, any idea how that happened? Ethan met Zimmer's gaze without flinching. I have no idea. Karma, perhaps. Zimmer chuckled dryly. Karma works fast. Life is unpredictable, Detective. Zimmer put the photos away. Watch yourself, Mr. Ford. We don't want accidents like this becoming a habit. He left without another word. In the hall, Officer Lewis whispered. Boss, you think he did it? Why not bring him in? No proof, si mir matter. And the victims aren't talking. That evening, Ethan and Grace had dinner at a bistro near the hospital. They sat by the window looking out. What are you looking at? Grace asked. Just watching the street, Ethan smiled. Across the road, there was an old brick wall painted with a fading D. E. mural and slogans like "Just Say No." Below it, a vendor was spinning pink cotton candy for a group of excited kids. The contrast between the grim public service announcements and the innocent joy of the children felt like a snapshot of the times. "It looks good," Grace said, resting her chin on her hand. "The cotton candy, I mean, we'll get some after." Their food arrived. They ate and chatted casually. "Grace, you've got sauce on your face," Ethan laughed. He grabbed a napkin and wiped her mouth. "You look like a little chipmunk." "I do not. My mouth isn't that big." Grace opened her mouth wide. Ethan chuckled. Here, eat this asparagus. It's long and healthy." Grace rolled her eyes but took a bite. She then picked up a slice of portobello mushroom and plopped it into his bowl. "Then you eat this mushroom. I read on a forum that fungi are good for your skin. Keep you looking young." "A forum?" "Grace, don't believe everything you read on the internet." Ethan laughed, dodging the mushroom. "Who says I need help looking young? Just eat it. Don't reject my love." Grace tried to force-feed him with her fork. "Fine, fine." As they finished their meal, an elderly man with white hair approached their table, leaning on a cane. "Excuse me, young man. Could you do me a favor?" "Of course, sir." The old man handed Ethan a vintage Nikon camera with trembling hands. "Could you take a picture of me and my wife? It's our 50th anniversary." He pointed to an old woman in a wheelchair nearby. Ethan and Grace walked over. The old man took a red rose from his bag, placed it in his wife's hand, and gently curled her fingers around it. The woman stared blankly ahead, her face slack from a stroke. The old man fixed her collar and smoothed her white hair, looking at her with pure adoration. "She had a stroke 10 years ago," he explained softly. "We're ready." Ethan crouched and snapped the photo. The old man beamed. The woman sat still, the rose vivid against her chest. "Thank you, young man," the old man said, taking the camera back. He began to wheel her away slowly. "All right, my love, let's go home. Happy anniversary." Grace leaned her head on Ethan's shoulder, eyes misty. "That's real love. Holding hands, growing old together." Ethan squeezed her hand. "We'll be like that. If we get old. What if you die first?" Grace asked suddenly. "Won't happen. You'll go first." "Hey, why?" "Because I couldn't bear to leave you alone in this world." Grace sniffled, then pinched him. "You jerk, making me cry." Later, back at the dorm, Grace walked in to find Chloe Jones, Sue, and Dana eating sunflower seeds. "Grace is back," Chloe teased. "Where were you?" "The Grand Monarch Hotel." "Shut up, Chloe." Grace laughed, taking off her shoes. "I wish I had a boyfriend," Chloe sighed. "I'm watching this new show, Hearts at War. 2 guys fighting over 1 girl in the rain. It's intense." "Sounds cheesy," Grace said. Her phone rang. A strange number. "Hello." "Haha. Grace. Remember me?" A high-pitched, annoying male voice. "Who is this?" "It's me. Luke. Luke Brooks. I'm back." Grace's face fell. "You? You're still alive? How did you get my number?" "My dad asked your dad. I'm back from Europe. Destiny calls." "Get lost." Grace hung up. "Who was that?" Chloe asked. "An idiot from my childhood," Grace groaned. "Ooh, a suitor?" "Grace, you're living Hearts at War." Chapter 209 Night. The Grand Monarch Hotel. "No." She hung up. "My heart. It cracks." Behind him, his mother packed a suitcase. "Luke, stop being dramatic. She kicked you in middle school. Move on." "Mom, you don't get it. Grace and I are like Romeo and Juliet. It's fate." Luke flipped his hair. He had spent years in a Swiss boarding school and had returned. "Eccentric. I came back for her. No one else compares. Go to sleep. You report to Illinois Tech tomorrow." His mom sighed, leaving the room. Luke stood on a chair, arms wide. "Grace, I am coming." The next day at lunch. "Luke Brooks is back," Grace complained to Ethan as they walked to the cafeteria. "He called me last night." Ethan laughed. He remembered Luke, the rich kid who used to put gel in his hair in 6th grade. Grace had once kicked him into a pile of manure. They called him Poopy Luke for a year. "Don't worry. I'm here," Ethan grinned. They entered the cafeteria line. Suddenly, a shout echoed through the hall. "Grace, my love, I found you." Luke Brooks, wearing a floral shirt and looking like a boy band reject, sprinted toward them, arms open for a hug. "Yeah." Thud. Grace executed a perfect roundhouse kick, sending Luke flying. Ethan stifled a laugh. He stepped in front of Grace. "Luke Brooks, long time no see." Luke scrambled up, dusting himself off. "Ethan, what are you doing here?" "I'm Grace's boyfriend," Ethan said, taking Grace's hand. "So back off." The cafeteria went silent. The campus queen. "Taken?" Luke looked like he'd been shot. "No." "Boyfriend? Impossible." "Believe it," Ethan said. Luke fell to his knees. "My destiny. Denied." Nearby, Ryan Yates watched, nodding solemnly. I know that pain, bro. I know that pain. Chapter 210. Luke stood up, dusting off his floral shirt. I don't believe it. You guys are definitely lying to me. His father had told him Grace didn't have a boyfriend yet. How could she suddenly have one? There must be a trick. Yes, a trick. You're just trying to scare me off. Luke pointed at Ethan, smiling triumphantly. Nice try, but Luke Brooks is too smart for that.